like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayKara.com. At ShopPayKara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayKara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Motorsport.
Cut. You all right, man? You sound way off.
What?
I don't know, you sound like you're asleep still. Is the age finally getting to you? You're only how old, 42?
Dude, I'm 27. I'm not even 3 years older than you.
Well, that's pretty old. Well, that's 3 years away from Masters, dude. You need a little pick-me-up. Try a Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Do you walk around with these in your pockets?
I actually do. Always two, one for me and clearly one for you.
Whatever. Not that old, dude.
Did it help though?
Yeah.
Pericazo. And you are that old.
From the garage to the grid, Acceleration Kart Racing is your one-stop shop for karting. Engines, parts, safety gear, tools, and more from the brands you trust. Everything you need for race day starts at shopakr.com.
Let's go race.
Come on, man.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's coverage of Apex Karting Championships racing action. The Midwest Championship continues on with round number 3 in its pre-finals day. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me is Taylor Burris for today as we get all prepared to go with the Masters, led by AJ Roderick for the Briggs Masters side. Ethan Keno in second, Levi Wilbur, Christopher Ashcraft, Elliot Bucano, along with Brian Williams, Ryan Curtin, Eric Kane, Tim Cottle, Michael Gollin, amongst those inside your top 10 for this grid. You also have Gary Machiko in the order today. Taylor, I'm happy with us here for the start of the day here today in Quaker City as we begin what's going to be the chance to secure some championships.
Absolutely, Justin. And I got to say, it's great to have some power and lights back on here at the house here in Texas, I have to say. And it's good to see that we're starting to have a little bit of a drying racetrack right here at Quaker as we get set for our first pre-final event of the morning with our Briggs 206 category. And it's going to be a good one here with these drivers trying to get themselves ready to go, set themselves up as to hunt for a championship. And the road to Trackhouse begins here once again, as this is the final step for these drivers to see who will make it to the Apex Finals in October.
Remember, these drivers will have 8 minutes plus 2 laps here today for your pre-finals. That'll happen for the 5 divisions for the Briggs side. We go to 12 minutes plus 2 laps for the finals later on this morning. Find out who's going to become a champion in each of these classes. The entire field is all set to go for the Briggs Masters. They've put together some unreal racing so far today. And continue on, let's find out. We're off and rolling for Briggs Masters. A good start for the inside line immediately. Roderick and company lead things off as the first 5-6 carts get single file.
Everyone now finally out of the last couple of corners now has begun to set themselves up here to settle in for the opening lap here. But we'll see as we watch the 437 machine of Ryan Curtin trying to find his way. He's got quite a bit of work to do in these 7.5 minutes plus 2 laps as the drivers now make their way towards the back half of the course, with Bucano, Roderick, and Ashcraft trying to lead the charge as one driver takes a peek at the nose to the inside for the 4th position.
Nothing doing there for the time being, but it's still, obviously, we've seen yesterday things were very active. Keep in mind, going to have to be very different potentially in your tire pressures, at least Taylor, today, because it is very cold to start. It's about 61 degrees Fahrenheit today. It's sweater weather at the moment here in Salem, Ohio. You're going to have to keep yourself pretty warm, at least for the morning sessions. There is the bright side. If you look at the weather radars, there are no expected rainstorms in the region currently, with the nearest rainstorms already around Ottawa area in Canada. Something's happening to Wilbur. Wilbur having to check on something on the cart, getting passed by and several scatter. It could Roderick, who spins around for the lead.
That is not a good situation here, and there's one other driver who already has his arm up. He is going to be also falling all the way back, and it might be day done as Roderick tries to get himself refired. One more cart, but for Levi Wilbur, also the other driver who had some problems in his top kart machine. He's got to be careful with that, and that is a big loss of time as we now have a change possibly for the race lead as down to the inside. The 427 of Ethan Bucano now gets back up to the top step here after falling short in the opening lap.
Ethan's able to jump up to the top step for now, and remember, did pick up a heat win yesterday for at least a moment. That wasn't until an overturned penalty came into play. That gave Roderick back the win in heat number 1 throughout the action. Heat 2 yesterday ended up going the way of Levi Wilbur at the end of the calculations from race control. That being said here, Wilbur was a bit of one of those drivers who just wanted to make a pass and keep the race lead, was able to double pass. A lot of the drivers up here that are up here for now were some of those that were a little bit more conservative on their approaches for pass attempts yesterday.
Yeah, these drivers here have been very smart, smooth, calculated of when to pull the trigger for making a pass those drivers also concerning themselves what they need to do, as well as also for some of these drivers a little further back, like Roderick and Wilbur, what adjustments we need to make, as we now have down to the inside the 428 of Bacchino. Elliot Bacchino looks to the inside of Ashcraft, will move up, but Ashcraft tries to cross over side by side. You see the butt there from Bacchino as he tries to get that RPM wound back up, ready to go, and he finally will hold the second position as down to the inside, Brian Williams, a fan favorite here of the Masters division, is looking to try and find his way further up the running order.
All of them trying to find a way to rally things together, obviously, and thing is, when it comes to these machines, you've got to find a way to change the time to make the moves. At the very least, with so many drivers having the sparkling of changes here, this could really set things up interesting for the finals, because this sets up your grid for the final, obviously, Taylor. The heats yesterday set up the positions to set yourself up for the pre-final grid. Pass made there by Karting for the third spot. So in other words, when you're talking about two of your best drivers in 6th and 8th right now, trying to make recovery drives the very minimum, it is a very different potential possibility for some of the front runners here if they're not able to claw their way forward in the next 3.5 minutes.
One thing also to keep in mind too, Justin, 100 points is given to the winner of this race. Is now down to the inside. Another beautiful pass by Roderick as he is trying to claw his way up. Trouble for one driver. It's a 404 or 406 maybe. Couldn't quite catch one of the Sodi machines out of competition. A tough break there for them as they will now continue on back up towards the front of the field as Roderick is trying to make his charge in these 3 minutes to go as the drivers work their way towards the back half of the course.
Michael Gowan, who had issues, the only Sodi in the field outside of Eric King possibly here. So that is one of the low-key racing entries that had peeled off previously, it looks like, in the scoring, the last lap or so. Everyone else making their way on through. Roderick has already recovered his way up in the top 4. A few of the others claw their way through. That is Roderick actually making an air pass, in fact. Ready to go for second immediately. Look at that charge from the RRT machine.
Are we about to see a spin to win situation here for your Briggs Master pre-final event? Because here comes the driver of AJ Roderick and company, as well as they work their way through. He just set the fastest lap of the race by a clear over a second faster than everyone else. Your leader, a 118, Roderick, a 116. He is on fire as he tries to find the rhythm here and get the pass done before they come around to complete another lap around the circle.
So far, we've seen pretty active moves here again. Look at this. There's a set up the inside that is up for the race lead. And that is Roderick making it from the outside line to zip his way from what was a drop of 3.5 seconds behind after the spin up to the point. Roderick now in command, and now it becomes the question, who else tries to keep command? Right now, Roderick is turning 117s compared to everybody else who is up to a second off the pace of the 456.
Incredible drive right now that we're having here as we watch these drivers work their way through, and as we see, Roderick is definitely going to be the favorite here in order to see who will be the top step of the podium for this pre-final and possibly the championship later on this morning, as the 490 also looking to pick up a couple of spots. Ashcraft looks to the inside. He will move up into the 4th position or so as they continue to battle and cross each other over as they work their way through.
Coming up to what's probably going to be close to 3 to go, maybe 2 to go at the line, depends on where we are in time. The end of this one going to be within a few seconds, possibly, actually. Right now, Karting, amongst those who had a bit of a roller coaster day yesterday, off the track in one moment, was involved in an error driver going off the track in an error in regards to the section of 3, 4, and 5. Right now, Karting, a good solid job to be able to stay up here in the mix. Oh, we got an extra lap by 1 second at the stripe, Taylor. It was close. Right now, you can see just how much this field is starting to compress together here, if you will, as a result of everything. But right now, Roderick ready to pull away by more than a second. Curran maintaining position in the steel machine, in his stealth, to try and build off some momentum in various other series where it was top half of the field. We talked about yesterday. Been pretty quick here today and throughout the course of the weekend. Ready to try and match that up. Coming to 2 laps to go here, Taylor.
And how about this? Even though we see Roderick starting to run away, Curtin has a nice group lined up, organized. I have a feeling they may try something here. It depends on how fast their lap time is this time around compared to your race leader. But if they stay this organized, they can maybe close the gap up on AJ Roderick. But it's going to be a tall order as they come around on the final corner to get 2 laps to go for them as they work their way through. And so far, Curtin and Bokina are working really well together as they cross the line. Still not even close. They're a good 4/10 off the pace of your leader.
See the 406 of Wilbur at least has picked up pace. Dropped back near 4 or 5 seconds for the race lead at one moment. As Police closed up a few seconds back, but Wilbur's going to have a very difficult climb to make later on today after being one of the quick chargers and the spark plugs of the battles all throughout yesterday morning. They worked their way through Sector 2 up to Sector 3. Good credit to both Ethan and Elliott. Elliott's picked up the tempo compared to yesterday too as well, because Elliott was one of those that was at the back half of the top 10 during the course of the race yesterday.
How about this? Some drivers getting a little impatient now as they will now start to battle it out. Curtin under pressure, trying to get around Bokina. Once again, he's got help from Elliott. Bokina right behind, but Elliott's going to also try to get to the inside to see if he can go work with Ethan here as they come down to take the white flag. Quick look over the shoulder there for Ethan as he now tries to fight his way through. Elliott also shows the nose underneath Curtin for these final couple of corners.
Down into the final lap we go. Who else makes a swap around with the final time around here once again in Quaker City? See some of the moves going on in the line. Ashcraft playing a little defensive maybe actually. No sense this time as they work their way out of 7. 8 and onward. A bit of a checkup actually. That is Elliott that stacks things up at the back end of the queue as they work their way up to 11.
So close this call here as they work their way through amongst these drivers inside second on back as they work their way around through the final couple of corners here. Show of the nose contact possibly right there for the driver of Levi Wilbur and King as they try to fight their way through these last couple of corners. And already here comes Curtin around Bokino. He finds his way to get up to second here with these final corners. Meanwhile, AJ Roderick looking to try and clinch a championship. What a better way to do it than to win the pre-final here today.
What a drive, a spin-in win for AJ Roderick to be able to come back to the field after having his moment at the front of it. Just a couple laps into the action. Curtin over Ethan Bokino. You also have Elliott inside the top 4. You have Christopher Ashcraft in the top 5. Wilbur, Williams, King, Pacheco amongst those inside the top 9 that finished things off. 10 took the green flag. Colin ends up being out of the race. A part of those that were able to get it rolling at least. First race in the books here. Your thoughts on the Briggs Masters to start off the day, especially with a recovery drive for AJ?
Well, with this, AJ Roderick is looking to be more further and further the possible driver to win this championship. Levi Wilbur with not the best free final. This could have cost him the championship here. We'll have to see how he does in the finale later on this morning, but there's still a lot up for grabs here as we get set for our next category.
The championship we were mentioning for the Briggs Masters is going to come down quite simply to how the drop is calculated. Remember, Roderick and Wilbur, before that race, 1 point was the separation between the two of them coming through today. Right now, point calculations will have Roderick and Wilbur both having the drop of this week, but it depends once everything's finalized where things stand. As you can see, our next grouping of drivers getting themselves actually ready to go pretty soon. To see some of the youngsters actually coming up. The micros are the ones that are going to be coming up next, followed by the senior, the mini, and the junior. A part of your running order for this morning's competition. Now, talking about the micro side, it's been an interesting conversation because we've seen some of the top contenders not here this weekend, but Kuiper Nelson's been a rocket. Miles Hill in second. Wyatt Rosemel, you had Wyatt Nelson in the top 4 coming into this one. You have Hamill, also alongside Joey Blue, Rhett Blue in 7th, Clyde Clement. Then you have Jude Boss, Harrison Fitzgerald. And keep in mind, Remy Boss moved up an age bracket, and James Fox not on property. Essentially, the calculation is pretty simple right now, Taylor, depending on how things swing. James Fox essentially has the championship secure, but the way things are looking, unless there's a major change for the 293 with the drop week. It's going to get interesting, though, to see, has anyone been able to make an adjustment to Kuiper in this race, though?
Yeah, that's going to be the big one, I have to say, because right now, this is just utilizing the total amount of points for the time being. This is not counting the drops just yet. Clyde is currently going to show the second most amount of points, actually. He would actually be ahead of Remy Boss due to the fact of how he is running in this championship right now. Now, it all depends on how well he runs in this pre-final and final event that will determine where he will utilize his drop round. So currently his only one that he will not use as a drop round is the previous round, round 3, where he pretty much went 3rd place all the way through. Round 1 is going to be the determining factor as well, how well he does in this, if he's going to utilize round 3 or drop round 1. So that's going to be the big question. It all determines how well he finishes in this pre-final event.
The big thing to me for Kuiper Nelson in this, though, to talk about that again is, remember the 0 is the drop for the opening round of the season for the 230. And the huge thing about that, Taylor, is the max points tally. If you include a 100 for the pre-final and a 200 for the final, would get that point tally to second within 20 points of James Fox is the current projection. It's that close for potentially how things look. The best chance for Nelson may be for second of the tunnel, but it requires a perfect weekend. Make sure you get ahead of Boss and make sure you're able to finish out to get the point tally here.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one here to say, but with Kuiper of how well he has been doing so far, was already sweeping both heat races. If he keeps it nice and smooth here, doesn't make any mistakes, he could have that shot to fire off and finish second in the championship. What a great way to round it off the season, too, as they work their way through the final corners into the tram line.
Just about ready to start things back off here. The field rolls its way up towards the tram lines. Slow rolling. They're waiting to begin things off here in this field, as we're happy to have you with us again here on Kart Chaser today from Salem, Ohio, Pennsylvania border. Hell on that outside, Nelson on the inside. Green, 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 we're underway. A little bit of 3 wide to the back of the order, but the front of the order, these Hamill and Munstall's battling, and Nelson is already point away. Good hole shot to start.
Great hole shot indeed there for Kale and company as they work their way around here to start this opening run. But for Kuiper Nelson, he's got to find a way to get up to the race lead here because Miles Hale is starting to get some room. And how about Wyatt right there to the inside, trying to cross over. Kuiper fights back around the outside, but it's not going to work out for him. He'll lose 2 spots in the corner.
Now, right now, you see the charge on the outside, actually, there for Hale. Can work out of 11, jump back up to second. One of the Nelsons run off up in the clean air in the Roger Racing Development entry. And the funny thing is about this weekend, it feels as though, at least on the Briggs side, we've seen a lot of different teams make their appearances here, but the RRDs have been pretty quick this weekend. No matter the class, in 3 different classes, they've contended for race wins so far. One of their youngsters is up in front to close out the first lap.
Yeah, Kuiper Nelson, really a great drive, and already setting the fastest lap by over a second just about here for these drivers. Miles is trying to chase him down, but he's got to have some help to make it work.
Yeah, right now you can just see few of the yellers try and figure out a way to go. Well, it's been pretty quick over the course of the weekend. Talked a little bit about the background when it comes to some of the drivers previously, but obviously a big thing for a lot of the competitors that you'll see, especially in the regional events in some cases, is you'll have competitors that run some of the club action at tracks like here, or then you draw in those that go as far as Wisconsin, like we're seeing with Hamill here in this battle, trying to find a way to get ahead, or have some various new paint schemes that make their appearances over the course of the weekend. We keep an eye on some of the battles. There's been, this series has brought a lot of talent over to this part of the country here, Taylor, that have spread far and wide, as far out as the very far reaches of the Midwest.
Certainly is, and it's great to see the racing action that we still have all throughout the Midwest, and great to see new tracks like we see here with Quaker. Yes, Quaker started off last year, of course, with the Stars Championship, making their debut at this circuit in 2025. But also, if you think about it, there's also the Lorraine circuit over here in Ohio, and it's so great that the Midwest karting scene is continuing to grow. And it's also great to see what Apex is continuing to do with this championship, to have so many different regional events here. Of course, we had our Southeast division earlier this year. The Midwest is growing strong. You saw all the special announcements for 2027 as well. And I gotta say, it is great to see that karting is going further and further with this, with especially the Briggs and KA categories.
Especially giving an opportunity for some of the drivers to be able to race to this platform. I think so indeed. It's been a good season that's brought in good talent. But of course, the campaign, if you look at some of the names that have popped up, we've had 155 on the entry list for this weekend for a reason. All of these competitors, including a sold-out Briggs senior category coming into the weekend. Under 4 minutes to go here. Kuiper Nelson still turning 1:17.7. Those are the fastest laps of the race. 1:18s for a majority of the others. And Hale seems to have figured out a bit more on the pace-wise to make sure to get some separation. Kept an eye on here in this battle for second for the racing trip.
3.5 minutes to go here as Kuiper Nelson continues to stretch out his legs this early morning here in the Micros pre-final event. We're watching a little further back with around the 4th position with both the Wyatts, Burleson and Nelson. As you can tell the difference, Nelson in the blue kart with the red suit, and then of course you have Nelson or Burleson right there with the other kart just ahead. These two are going at it once again to see if they can move their way forward in the championship. For Burleson, he sits P6 right now. Nelson, this is his debut race for the series, so really won't be able to make any headway, but still a good way to just learn about it, and we hope to see him back for 2027 for the Midwest Championship.
That's the hope for a lot, is the chance to develop, see the chance to build on the championship trophies, add more championship trophies, if you will, to your trophy case. 230 to work with up on the board as you see the battle for fourth. Aaron Nelson, Wyatt Nelson, been running up in this field as well. Wyatt Nelson, one of those from Wild Bros Racing. Specifically, that is marked as an energy. That is one of the locals to this facility, by the way, we see. It's that fight. You also have one of the blues. That specifically was right in. Hold on. That is going to be Nelson. That loses his grip. Wyatt Nelson.
I do got to say, this kart here we're watching right now, the 294 machine, of course, in the, I don't know if we can say Rexy, but in the Dinosaur paint scheme. I actually saw this kart last weekend racing over there in Wisconsin at the Briggs and Stratton Motorplex, and it was great to see these young kids going at it around the circuit, while, of course, other larger series were going on, such as the IMSA Airbnb Challenge and the Porsche Sprint Cup West Division. So great to see karting still happening around some of these major circuits to showcase their talents and let maybe some other drivers and teams and bigger cars recognize some talent and maybe one day move them up, as Jude Voss and Clyde Clement will move up a couple of spots. Rhett Blue, as well as one driver goes way wide off into the grass. Tough break for him, as he will now go out of his way and unfortunately drop further down the running order with just a minute plus 2 to go.
With the name of Toby that had gone off the racetrack there, Toby Blue. That is one of the two machines of Retzi and Tobysaurus Rex, referred to from Twin Turbo Racing. Really, you see the battle going on screen. Right now, Hale maintaining, but Hamill still trying to find a way to get something closed up here. We have 30 seconds on the board.
Keeping an eye now on the competitors here as these drivers have a good fight amongst them. And we watch, oh, good pass to the inside. He might have the run that he needs for him in order to make the charge. Hamill doing everything that she can, with Ava working her way through, with Hale right on now, holding strong for the moment. But it's going to be Ava Hamill who's setting the pace right now. Both of them nearly clipping the grass as they come off corner exit. Great drive by both of these two. But the problem is there's not enough time to catch up to Kiefer Nelson.
Yeah, that kart is gone. It's not the biggest margin of the weekend, but it is pretty significant of more than 2 seconds right now. Hale, the pressure it feels like to start Sector 3 right now. Up in that section out of 12, 13, 14. Around the region, that's where the last attempt was for Ava. We'll try that again, potentially if there's an opportunity. But look at how much Hale's been able to pull back away. It seems like the momentum has gone back to the 215 side, coming up to 2 laps to go this time.
2 laps to go here for these drivers as they work their way around the circuit. Miles Hale doing everything he can. He's setting a consistent pace. He's actually towards the end of this run, which may be something to keep in mind for the final later today, depending on how well his kart handles this morning later on as the temperatures start to build up a little bit. He could have something for Kiefer Nelson as they work their way across the line. And yeah, still faster than your race leader. In fact, picked up 0.3 of a second as Ava Hamill comes around with a big run. Almost got into the back bumper of Miles.
Here comes the run. Will there be an attempt once again by 7? One of the best passing opportunities through yesterday's racing. Haven't seen too many attempts there today so far. No. Actually backed up the corner. Now charges it out of 7. Here we got to the right side of the racetrack. Stays down the order. Lap and a half to work with. Nelson's gap is starting to go down all of a sudden. It went down a few tenths. As the long run starts to kick in, they gain 0.3 at the stripe. Nelson's getting visibly closer all of a sudden. Kiefer's pace backing a touch back off, but the battle for second is focusing on just the battle for those spots. Hamill to the inside, make the pass and get the job done this time.
Great textbook pass right there for Ava as they now come out of the final corner to get the white flag. Let's see how much time they lost or gained. You see them right there in the same shot, and they picked up almost 9/10 of a second. They are flying around the circuit, even with the two of them battling as Ava sets the fastest lap of the race so far. She is coming barreling down on Kuiper Nelson. Can they find a way to close the gap here before they take the checker? Miles going to give a little bit of a push. This is where they're strongest. The two of them drafting down the straightaway here as they head towards the final couple of corners on the back half of the course as Hale looks to the inside.
For second again. They're within about a second or so for the lead, but Hale wants to focus on trying to make sure second stays in line. Back and forth they go. Hale now has the advantage up through the sweeping section of 11. Will Hamill get an opportunity to get there? Right now, Nelson's gap regrowing because of this fight. Hamill's had to fight the entire way through this race, especially in the back half of it, to make sure second stayed that direction. Kuiper Nelson, meanwhile, pulled off like a rocket, started to slip back in the final few moments, and now will take the checker flag and come away with a pre-final over Hale and Hamill. Top four behind, you have to go back another 11 seconds where drivers like Red Blue and Wyatt Burrowsman have been battling. They are starting to swap around with the drop of blue behind Kleeman to see Rhett dropping down to P6 in the order. Toby Blue coming away in 7th, Wyatt Nelson in 8th here, Taylor.
Yeah, I gotta say, keep an eye on Miles and Ava when we go set racing for the finals in a little bit here for them. With how much longer we're gonna be running these karts, hey, I would put the favor, as long as Miles and Ava doesn't battle too hard towards the end, they could have something for Kuiper Nelson. But for Kuiper, pretty sure they need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that they have enough long run pace to keep ahead and not allow Miles and Ava to close that gap.
So a few moments away for the Briggs seniors to hit the racetrack here as we get all set to continue on the racing action. See the Briggs seniors already getting told to jump into their carts here for this next one. We do have an update that happened from the Briggs Masters that just happened moments ago, Taylor. AJ Roderick, 5-second incident responsibility penalty. So Ryan Curtin got the win instead.
Ooh, that's gonna shake things up for sure. I would have championship, but it's still going to be, looks like AJ Roderick to hold on for the time being, as we'll keep an eye on this situation here. But it's going to be an interesting fight here when we get set for the or the final event later on today.
Absolutely. So with that being said, all the drivers just about sprinting. It looks like one driver, oh boy, yeah, one of the senior drivers realizing they've got to get in their kart here. They got to go. And we have,
well, looks like
they're having issues.
They're having a little bit of issues indeed. That's the 987 machine who's having some issues right now. And that's one of our front runners. That's Emily DeMasters, who is not having a good start. That's going to put them tailing Charlie if they don't get that thing fired up. I wonder what the issue was for this car. Motor mount is loose. And will they be able to get it going before? Yeah, you see how much it's shaking back there.
Yeah, absolutely having to scramble on the grid in the pre-final. Emily DeMaster and the entire crew trying to figure out what they can do to get this thing on the grid here. They're still trying to figure out what they can do here. They are running out of time to do something. It looks like they've got it figured out. Looks like DeMaster gets in the kart. Emily DeMaster, who is third in the points right now, is off and away.
Ooh, close call indeed, but she's got to hustle in order to catch up. But the problem is, I don't think they will give her her starting position with how things are looking right now.
Tower Field's getting ready to go here, by the way, up in the order here in this one. You see Henry Wheeler, Sam Tutler in the front row, Mark Steele in third, Will Wilkie in the top four. Amongst some of the varies that are notables, Clay O'Brien was quick at some points, 13th. Luckily, some of the others like Beckham Lewis trying to avoid trouble after a disastrous yesterday. Chase Adams, you could throw in the same mix. But the entire field is getting set to go zoom zoom. Ready to go for Briggs Senior. Third pre-final of the morning. Green flag is out, we're underway. Like at least one off track to start things off. A few others in the middle of the field getting squeezed. But everyone else already seen 2 by 2 amongst the top 10.
Great racing action here as the drivers now circle their way through to get them tires warmed up, as well as they work their way through. A couple of drivers trying to already jockey. One driver, big slide right there. That is the 930-92 machine, I believe, of Rian Curl, who had a big issue right there. He was able to save it as one driver further back goes off into the grass as they continue to jockey for position here.
All trying to figure out where they can go and get themselves sorted, because the top two have already done exactly that at the front of the field. Still with the Rocket Tech and the Roderick, you see some of the spinners at the back of the order and some problems. 948 has stalled out as a result of Owen Malley trying to get himself back rolling at least. But the race leaders are less than a minute already off the clock here with the battles to start. 119 to begin things off here. First minute and a half early off the board with Henry Wheeler and Mark Steele trying to work together as one up at the head of the field.
Yeah, those two drivers there for the Rocket Tech Motorsports group, and here they got two Roderick Racing Development drivers right there. And I gotta say, this is gonna be close.
Yeah, you see a couple descents going on in the heart of the order with some drivers that have had some quieter weekends so far. But right now, all you can say is it's been difficult to build up passes this morning with the cooler temperatures, it feels like, at least today. It's kind of been that case so far in a lot of these fights. You see some of the drivers just trying to figure out, okay, where can I make up some ground? Because Tutwiler didn't get the best of starts, for example. He's already on the move to recover.
He certainly is already, as drivers now try to work their way through here as we go side-by-side action further on back outside the top five as we watch these drivers work their way through. And as they come out of the final corner, how about this? Here we go side-by-side looking down into turn number one, and a big contact right there for the 989 machine of Alex DiCulio as he nearly got sent around.
Here we got sent off the circuit, but held on to it is the bigger point, though, in that circumstance. And now it's time to point forward and charge, I guess you could say. They're all trying to figure out a way to make sure they get up to Wilkie at least, at minimum to have a chance at the top three, get to inside of row two. Very important spot. Some of the others, again, shuffle side by side. Once more. Back to single file, they work. That includes Kanto amongst those trying to find a way to go there and try and make sure they can get a run built up here on Mole.
Looking through the field, Mark Steele is trying to make some headway right now with help from, of course, Henry Wheeler. Those two are starting to break away. Will Wilkie, though, with Brady Eckhoff right there behind him, are trying to see what they can accomplish together as they work their way through. You're watching this group right now as they come out of the final corner, and they see that right here as Addison Iannello with Tutwiler and looks to the inside of Iannello. Could not find the opening that they needed as Leighton Moe and company try to charge closer in on this action.
All of them trying to find a way to go up the road. We mentioned Tutwiler amongst those trying to find things to work. Iannello had a good start somewhat in this one, up 6 in the first few laps. sees Tutwiler already recovering from the little bit of off track to start. Get up inside the top 5, power their way through. Now, it's been a good year in terms of someone like a Tutwiler and a couple of the others here in the midst of the season, because some of the drivers, remember, you have a big range of ages that might be in the 20s in some cases. Some of them are still in high school in a couple of different cases. For a lot of cases, it's a good opportunity, especially at the regional level, to get a good barometer against some of the talent you'll see at the national level, Taylor, so you know what to expect when you're developing on your road to success.
There we go, down to the inside, some more passes as the 992 of Rian Curl is going to lose a couple of more spots, this time to Carson Benjamin and James Strupko, as they now work their way through and move up a spot. That will drop Rian down to 11th position out of the top 10.
Those drivers have really stagnated out, haven't they, here, Taylor? Though the battle is a little bit of a slidey slide. Rear of the tires that time. A little bit of a hold on as a result for Mole. Right now, Layden being very grippy, needing to find a way to get the grip to come together here after a massive slide like that one.
Yeah, massive slide indeed. That's going to be very difficult. There's still some wet patches around the circuit. You see it there on the track with just a different coloration as trouble for the 953 of Pat Jaminet, who is now out of contention for a good finish. Was sitting 18th, but unfortunately that will drop them further down the running order.
He's in a machine going around. Clay O'Brien, a race team entry in that circumstance, who had some issues yesterday during some of the heat racing action. More pass attempts, more squeezes by. That's Curl. Bit more surprising for Curl. He's been quick in this part of the region for this type of racing, Taylor, for a few years. Today, Curl not getting the best of beginnings here. Down 5. It's coming up to the final minute after being a top 4 contender all throughout yesterday.
Yeah, definitely not the situation that Curl wanted to have. I'm kind of curious to see what adjustments that they made, thinking to help them improve, or was just due to the fact of just the tight, close quarter racing that Curl is trying to negotiate and deal with, that someone else maybe made some better adjustments to get around him, because it is a very interesting situation to see why Curl is struggling so much here today.
Change of a day, change of positions, track, circumstances. Again, you could say there's a lot of different ways that can come into it. 30 seconds to go. 3 laps to go this time. It looks like up on the board. 27 of those in this group. Curl now in the 9th position. By the way, Chase Adams has driven up 14 positions on the recovery through the order. Tutwiler trying to get up to Ikhoff now next, with Wilkie assisting. Hold on 1 second, that's a battle for the race lead. Wheeler and Steele have been staying stagnant throughout the run. That's now changed. The Steele entry is up to the front.
Mark Steele finally found his run that he needed. He feels he's got enough room to work with. He took the chance and now will lead us here with just coming to 2 laps to go for your leaders as they come across the back straightaway, heading over into the final couple of corners here. What will Henry Wheeler do? Meanwhile, behind, Eckhoff, Wilkie, and Tutwiler also battling it out. Remember, Sam Tutwiler is your fastest driver on the track right now. He's looking to see if he can close the gap up on your top 2.
Yeah, that's going to be the huge thing here with a couple laps to work with on the board. Here we go, up to 1. Wheeler's been able to make some moves there this weekend, not this time. They're electing to be a little bit more patient. They've again made it a 2-kart race. And if they battle too much, Tutwiler has a great opportunity to get there, because Tutwiler also took 3rd away. Remember, Wilkie elected to help him out. Gonna buy the 927 and zip their way up into 3rd and 4th respectively here. Tutwiler's been flying through the order with the fastest lap of the race.
He still setting the pace right now. The gap is right around 1.5 seconds. He picked up 7/10 last time by. Has big issues for several competitors. The 979 of James Stropka and one more driver couldn't catch the other driver. So that is a tough break for some of our drivers inside the top 15.
Plummet after some contact. They were running about 11th position in the order there for that issue. Look at how much Topward's chipped away. He's within 5 kart lengths up in the order here. Coming up to 1 lap to go, though. Steele and Wheeler looking to battle. Tutwiler's got it within 6/10. Tutwiler might get there by the end of the lap with the way things are looking.
Yeah, let's see what Henry Wheeler decides to do. Is he going to fight it out with them, or is he going to just try to stay tucked up behind Mark Steele and try to play keep away from the rest of the competition? But here comes Tutwiler and Wilkie. Both of them running identical lap times last time around. Those two really making a charge as here comes Wheeler around to the bottom of the racetrack. He finds his way around Mark Steele, which brings everyone close together. But here comes Tutwiler looking for second.
While we're looking to try and find a way to get there. Goes to the bumper. It's 4 cars all bumper to bumper to bumper to bumper. Now to the outside. The peak around. Wheeler stays up in front. They rumble their way up to the final sector. Will there be a dive to the inside? Not yet. They make their way to the back straightaway. Now the battle's on for third.
Side-by-side track race as they come out of the final corner. And how about Wilkie getting around Tutwiler? And it will go to Henry Wheeler, your winner in the Briggs Senior category.
Wheeler gets it done in this pre-final over Steele, Wilkie, and Tutwiler. Eckhoff coming off in the top 5. Lane Mole in 6th, getting around Addison Iannello. Ryan Curl recovers to 8th. Kazuo down in 9th. Lucian Laser down in the 10th position. Chase Adams, an impressive drive in the order, up 16 here. Beckham Lewis went up 8. I want some of the hard chargers on page 2.
A couple of notables. Tough break for Emily DeMasters. She was able to recover somewhat, but unfortunately not be able to pick up enough pace here. Hopefully she can find her way up through the field later on. And then, of course, Stropka and Benjamin and several other drivers who struggled in this race.
We'll take a quick break. Halfway through the pre-finals. We'll continue with Minnie in a moment.
Welcome to the future of kart race preparation. Kart Sim Pro North America. Featuring laser-scanned North American kart circuits and precision-tuned kart physics developed using real telemetry, dyno and tyre data, Kart Sim Pro North America delivers the most advanced and realistic kart simulation experience available today. Whether you're training for race day, refining your lines, or shaving tenths off your personal best, Kart Sim Pro gives you pro-level insight without leaving your home. Trusted by world champions, coaches, and karting enthusiasts alike, this is where virtual practice translates into real-world performance. Experience the thrill, the challenge, and the edge. Kart Sim Pro North America. Use code CHASER20 to get 20% off today.
As you can see here, karts are getting all set to go in the minis as pickup gets completed here in Quaker City. Again, Justin Prince alongside Taylor Burris here in the broadcast booth as we prepare for our fourth pre-final of the morning. Thinking about things and how this has gone so far in the mini conversation. We already talked about how things have looked secure for Tutwiler coming into the weekend for senior, but mini, Anderson Hemphill had been one of the drivers that had been the most dominant coming in, but taking the zero here this weekend for the drop. Looking comfortable here, though, is the big thing as Logan Pollock tries to find any way possible to find an extra 100 points on the table.
Just wanted to give a quick update right quick for our Briggs Master. We touched on how AJ Roderick got penalized for a incident responsibility. Well, apparently that has now been overturned, and AJ Roderick will start on the pole for the final, as well as keep the win for the pre-final event. That has just been notified and clarified in post-race tech, and the reverted penalty has been overturned.
The second time Roderick's been able to get a penalty overturned this weekend, actually, Taylor. And now gets the chance to try and control things in style up at the front of the order as the engines now get fired for the mini field.
Quick update also in the Briggs Micro pre-final event. Wyatt Burlesman had a 3-second blocking penalty currently. So instead of finishing where he was earlier on, he will now drop to 6th position, which I think is right around the spot he was running in anyway, but just losing some time to Red Blue.
So that's some of the different developments we've seen pop up so far over the course of today. And obviously, you got to be careful in making the right moves. You don't want to make the wrong moves, is what I'm trying to say here, Taylor, because that's an easy thing you can accidentally do. Or, if you want, try and do, I guess you could say. But obviously, you need to be careful on where do you try and go for those defensive maneuvers to hold on to spots.
Yeah, it's one of the great things with karting. We see it over in Europe a lot with the heavy blocking Euro swerving here. And we know, yes, we want drivers to defend their position and race hard, but aggressively blocking, especially for the younger cadet drivers, they don't need to be worrying about that. They need to be focusing on learning proper defense, as well as just making sure they keep their karts on the track is the biggest thing here.
That is a huge thing for something today as the mini drivers have now hit the racetrack and are all ready to figure out where they're going to stand. Remember, Briggs Mini with the updated pre-final grid. Aiden Harbaugh over the head of the group had a perfect yesterday. Look at Pollock, Theo Stevens, followed by Ruben Greer. You have Bo Laser, Joseph Penico. You have Slaybach, Remy Boss. Amongst those in the top 8, Goddard, Illick, McNeely, amongst those in the 12 kart field. They'll look to try and find a way to have a good effort today. Part of your Briggs Minis. See all of them making their way down that straightaway. Your quick thoughts on what you expect from this field of the Minis today.
Expect some good, hard racing here. Championships are still on the line for our Briggs Mini drivers, and I gotta say, they're gonna give it everything they got here in order to try and see who will end up on the top step of the podium for our Briggs Mini, with Anderson, Hemphill, Pollock, and Taruno looking to try to do that as we get the green flag, and here we go. Already a couple of drivers gonna go 3 and 4 wide almost before they come through turn 2 and 3.
A little bit of aggression popping up there to start. They all make their way through pretty cleanly up towards turn 6 to begin things off here today. Single file, choo-choo train past the drag strip. Long, rich history of drag racing here at this facility. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, Taylor. They actually, with pit race and its closure, expanded the garage area with commitments from 20 different racers, Hunter Bolton mentioned yesterday, to add to this facility and add to the capacity available for the karting scene as well.
it's great to see that a track, even though, yes, it's sad that we lost Pittsburgh Motorplex and what amazing facility that is, but the fact is a track like Quaker realizing, hey, there is karters who want to come and race here. Let's make the proper adjustments and make sure there's proper facilities for every single one of those drivers to have a home to come and race at on a weekly basis, and that is such a great news to hear with a track like Quaker. I see a long future ahead for this amazing facility.
All this is to say, first minute or so off the board. Right now, Harbaugh not giving up easily for the race lead. Aiden pretty quick in both classes taking part in yesterday. Getting some good assistance on the push here today. No one's willing to make too many moves. It's similar to that of what we've seen in one of the heat races yesterday. Although Stevens gets past, that was with a checkup near contact back with Pollock.
Yeah, that certainly is the case here as Pollock looks to find his way around. He's got a little bit of help with, of course, your race leader, Aiden Harbaugh, as they start to pull away from Theo Stevens. And watch out for Mr. Ruben Greer. We've seen him all over the country racing in these Briggs mini category pretty much since last year with racing in the South Division. And he is putting on a great showing here today, once again in fourth position. Bo Laser right there behind him as well as they try to make haste and catch up to your top two.
Remember, Greer, part of the reason was a little bit deeper in the order. First heat race was disastrous. Ended up off the racetrack, down the order, had to recover throughout the rest of the day to make up the heat points. And it's kind of now worked out where Greer has an opportunity. They're able to play their cards right to go forward and make some of these passes here. Greer, mind you, one of those we've seen. Now going to have to work on the battle for the lead because Pollock gets squeezed through and Harbaugh gets squeezed to the grass all the way outside the top five.
Watching on here as the drivers work their way through and everyone has kind of bunched back up together. Pollock now has Greer all over his back bumper as Harbaugh tries to run away from them as they battle. Let's see what Greer decides to do going into the double. And so far, he has a little bit of effort, but just can't quite get that run he needs in order to make the pass. He's got to watch out, though, because here comes Theo Stevens with a big run out of the back straightaway as they head into the final corner.
They all zoomed their way through, and mind you, Robert Greer, the point was about to make there before the pass attempt, running a different manufacturer of chassis than normal. That you see, that is a Haas or a Hasse, depending on how you pronounce it. It is Italian, that brand that's been trying to build its reputation. The American side, our new gen Motorsport here this weekend. Seen a couple other competitors that are in that mix, like Stoner, that have ran those karts. In various classes. 3 wide, Harbaugh squeezes by 4 karts, trying to zip his way by. That was 3 passes and 3 turns.
Yeah, everyone got a little bit jumbled up there as they went 3 wide. One driver tried to send it in deep, make contact, washed everyone up, and that allowed it to change hands quickly. And that opens the door for Pollock to try and run away from everyone else here as they work their way through. Big implications here as we see the 181 of Bo Laser find his way through into 4. As some more drivers start to fall further and further behind, struggling with this situation here. That now breaks everything up for every single driver, gives Pollock the room he needs to breathe, as he's now got to deal with both Aiden and Theo here at the moment. As the hero comes around the outside, a little contact right there as McKellen Schallbach and Remy Boss swap positions.
Robbie Slaybach you're talking about specifically. We talked with them coming into today, the family side. Callan, also known as Mac, one of those that's been busy with the racing scene, and right now looking to pick up some spots here with some back and forth. You also see that right now with Boss, and Boss trying to find some speed with a change in age bracket, because was one of the contenders we talked about in Micro. Racing a Mini this weekend for the first time in this campaign.
Here we go. Let's see what happens here. As Remy Boss and company try to find their way around the competition of Mac as he tries to get around, but Mac is going to get a little bit of breathing room here to try to stretch his legs out, watching on through the field as it's now going to see how this plays out with a big push coming with Joseph Panico and Remy Boss working together. He's got more help as they come out of the final corner. Panico looks to the inside of Remy Boss to move up a couple of spots, along with Milan Ilic, who's right there as well.
Remember that DPC ended up losing a side pod at one point yesterday.
Oh, one driver in the grass.
Oh, here we go.
End it.
That's the 100. Panico was off the racetrack. There goes all of the spots for Joseph's kart. Down to the final minute or so coming up on the board for time. And some of these battles intensifying with Harbaugh now over the race lead.
Harbaugh, Logan Pollock just working in two-step work together with Theo Stevens. Bo Laser and Ruben Greer are starting to close back up. They got a little bit of work to do. They're 1.4 seconds back, but I think both of them realize what they need to do. Will work together to try to catch up to your top three and hope that they start battling here with the final 30 seconds plus 2 laps. So about 3 laps to go here for your drivers as they come out of the final corner. Harbaugh will hold the line here. As they come out of the final corner, Pollock still right there in hot pursuit, ready to capitalize on any mistake as they slide through turn 1.
Yep, this is getting close up at the front of the field yet again. Bumper to bumper. Coming up to 2 laps to go. When do you pull the pin here? When do you make the pass if you're Pollock, knowing Stevens is right there if you don't make the pass? Taylor.
Yes.
I was going to say, when do you think Pollock is going to make this pass?
Yeah, well, we saw what happened in the previous senior pre-final event where Henry waited till absolutely the final lap to make it work. So if I was Pollock, I would have taken notes in that pre-final event that we saw with the seniors and do the exact same thing if you get the run. He's got Stevens behind him, so maybe try to work and hope Steven goes with him to make the pass. So it's still plenty of time. We're coming around to get 2 laps to go here. And Pollock still has plenty of room to work with. Seeing now if Harbaugh makes a mistake, Pollock's got to go for it and not waste time. So 2 laps to go here. And so far, both of these drivers are in lockstep with each other. Harbaugh a little faster last time around than Pollock, but not by much.
Not by much for now, but here we go with a lap and 3/4 to go. Pollock staying, looking behind. Stevens responded with a look of his own, but they'll all make their way through with no pass attempt yet. Pollock maintaining, trying to make sure to score some good points here for the championship hunt. Right now, keep in mind, it's looking like round 1 is going to end up being the drop, especially with the fact that it had 11th and 6th and part of those orders. Pollock, worst finish of the weekend, is a 4th so far.
It seems to be going around here, and as they work their way through, arching on here, it's going to be a tight fight for the finish.
Here they go. Coming up to the white flag this time by Harbaugh, looking to try and continue the weekend sweep. Harbaugh's been driving strong, only his first appearance in the season for this age bracket at least. Can Harbaugh hold him back? Looks again. Pollock on the rear, coming up to 7. This has been an active passing opportunity. No defensive maneuvers from Harbaugh. Pollock stays in line.
Oh, here we go. He's going to try to go around the outside here, set something up, but it's not going to work because Harbaugh had the better run on the bottom of the racetrack coming through that corner. We've seen time and time again all day, that is where the prone passing position has been, but so far, Pollock just did not pull the trigger.
One of the drivers local to the racing action here at this facility, Harbaugh, trying to make sure to keep things going, proving they're one of the top drivers to be at this track. Pollock going to need to try and get the run on the inside. Outside for Harbaugh. Going to try and stick it from the outside. He clearly clears. Pollock stays nearby, but it's Harbaugh who keeps the fight going for the race win. Pollock in second, Stevens in third, Greer and Laser the top
trouble.
five.
2 for 1 spin around as they come out of the final corner here. And, well, that will move one driver up. That's Dylan Goodard and company. Oh, my goodness. That was exciting to see some of these drivers and how much they're willing to give it everything they can to come across this finish line.
Slaybaugh once was able to take advantage. I believe that might have been Remy Boss that's now off the racetrack with the scoring loop. Able to get to 9th position, and the crews will at least get that cart out of the grass. Or Harbaugh up by about 0.2 of a second. Able to get the edge here in this one over Pollock. Stevens, Greer, and Laser up at the top 5. Panico dropped down 11th. That's where they fell on the track. That leaves us with one more group to go for the pre-finals at least here, Taylor. Just 6 total races for the morning session to go. Now let's see the Briggs Juniors all on the track coming up next. And as you can see, the karts at least getting themselves back off to the pit lane with a little bit of cleanup because of the spin at the start and finish line. Junior field has been pretty intensified so far, I think you could argue, Taylor, because they put together some interesting names up at the front. And today, let's see if that backs up again with AJ Stoner to keep up a solid weekend with 3rd and a 2nd was your points leader coming into the weekend.
Yeah, AJ Stoner has been a strong competitor all weekend long and looking to continue that here in the junior category. We saw how well he did in the KA category, looking to continue that run here today in the Briggs as well, and looking very strong with the points championship situation, even only with one final and one pre-final win in both round 1 and round 2. He is looking to showcase he has what it takes to be on the top step here as we get set for today's action with the juniors.
Stoner, Lawson, Dyer, and Yotze amongst those in the top 4. Jet Price, William Richard, followed by Will Kritz and Daniel Dragonoff. Blackerby and O'Neill are inside the top 10 also for this Briggs Junior pre-final. And of course, this field also has its multiple other pages. Jacob Scheibel down the order, Ben Beck in 12th, Frey, DeCoster, Tegan Snyder quiet weekend, Jonathan Bohr as well after penalty qualifying, Maskell, Van Horn down the order big time on some of the other names. And obviously, when you have 28 karts in a field like this on the entry list at least, it becomes the question on which drivers are able to differentiate themselves here. What are the expectations for the juniors?
I mean, I'm looking at AJ Stoner because of where he is in the championship, of how smart he needs to be with this race. I'm also going to be keeping an eye on drivers like some of our other competitors who are in the hunt for the championship. But also watch out for some of the newcomers here. Some of these drivers who are maybe making their debut or not making their first attempt here in the season. It's all going to come down to how well this plays out with the weather situation that we have today. Much warmer temperatures as they come into the tram line and get set for the action. Stoner leads us into turn number 1 with Lawson, Dyer, and company all hounding him as they come through 1.
Off and away we are for Briggs Jr. Already some heavy battling going on. Richard amongst those able to clear. On the side-by-side, the happy car to drag it off. Trying to work on the outside. Had a moment for a second. Trying to hold on to the grip. Top 4 get single file to start.
Driver now is working their way through here with the top three as we watch Stoner and company try to negotiate. Lawson leads the charge here as they come through the back half of the course. Single file racing action amongst them as they head off towards the back half of the course here. And who will pop out to try to gain a spot here? So far, it will be nobody for the time being.
Nobody really going to be too aggressive, I think, with it just being the start. I say that, and we see a lot of move attempts going on all of a sudden. And we'll stay in single file lines, though, as this time through. The bumps are on to try and separate. Stoner wants to shuffle back with Dyer now up the front, and a slide for Price. Price held on to it, though. Price able to recover immediately to try and go for an attack back on Dyer.
Dyer's doing everything that he can. A beautiful drive right here to hold off Jet Price and company. Stoner looking as well as they come down the short chute towards the back half of the course right now. And let's see who will be able to make the smart move. One driver already looking to the inside, try to break into the top five. That was Chris Utzi, who is trying to move up, moves around William Richard for the 5th spot.
Now, as they all rumble their way through, keep in mind, some drivers had some wild runs yesterday and wild incidents that happened off screen. One driver had a bit of a flip yesterday involving some of the drivers like Snyder you see riding along with some drivers. Obviously, you get the further back you go, Taylor, the more physical it can get in a field like this.
When you have over 20 karts on a track here, 25 currently showing on timing and scoring, you know things are going to get aggressive no matter where you look. It's what makes these larger fields so exciting to watch because there's action all over the racetrack. You never know what's going to happen as you hear the wheels spinning and all things acting crazy for these drivers as they try to hold it together here as they come across the line. Still no change up at the front of your lead as we watch further on back about on the midfield, just outside of the top five as they work their way down into the back half of the course, but a couple of drivers already making headway through the field.
Now look at that little cut to the inside coming out of 7. Also drones like Snyder just trying to find a dive underneath and get back into the rhythm with some of the orange and blue race suits in the midst of things. That being said, they all get themselves sorted out. Bohr is also on the move. Remember, Jonathan Bohr only up a couple so far on the last scoring loop, but one of those we talked about with Wall Fine, looking to really trying to rally back up, try and find something, anything for the main conversation. Stoner's taking the race lead up at the front of the field, though, over Richard. Dyer's been dropped down to 4th right behind Price.
And Dyer was dropped like a hot potato real quickly here as he was dropped all the way to 4th. Now has to worry about Chris Utzi and Giovanni, who are right there in the hunt as they work their way through. And now can we see what will Dyer decide to do? Who decides to poke out through here already? And that's going to be Giovanni getting around Christopher Utzi for the 5th spot. Move them up a little bit. Watch out, though, as Dragunov and Kreit are right behind, looking to gain some ground on the top 4.
Yeah, and find a way to close up the gap as quick as possible, right? Right now, though, Stoner tries to work to themselves around the track on the Stoner Boys entry. Who goes for the move next is the huge question with 3 minutes to work with. We haven't talked too much, it feels like, about drivers like Richard here. William is one of those with James Overbeck Academy. That is a team that is involving some of the development of drivers at this level under the supervision of Overbeck. One of the Newcastle locals done pretty well, to say the very least, so far here at a different facility at the front. We'll drag it off the second pass.
When you have one of the top Briggs and one of the top KA drivers helping you, coaching you, as we watch further on back. The drivers of Dragunov and company, Hayden Lawson, Chris Yutzi, all still jockeying and moving around for position. You know you need to pick up some really important talent to make sure and work with a driver like James Overbeck. So William Richards soaking up all that information and really showcasing his talent and what he has been able to learn by where he's running here today in the Briggs Junior pre-final.
Change up in the front, by the way. Price taking over the race lead off screen, believe, as drivers like Richard got shuffled down the order as well. This pack still seeing a lot of shuffling too in the second group. Dragunov amongst those pushed back. All rumble the way back down the hillside. Dragunov falling down the order on long run again. Similar to that of yesterday, down in 8th. Up in the front, we talked about the reaching race leads, continuing with Price up in front.
Jet Price found his way. Stoner nearly had the race lead, but it could not work out. How about the privateer entry there of Jet Price, now giving the hand signal saying, hey, let's get going. Let's try to keep away from the rest of the field, because they are coming here as they work their way down into the corner, and they're leaving Gavin Dyer all alone. That's going to be a problem for him, because here comes Hayden Lawson and company as they try to close the gap with 1 minute plus 2 to go.
Still got that minute. Going to be coming up to 3 to go. In theory, up on the board. See everyone trying to find a way to stay secure on the push. Mind you, Dyer just about lost touch, and that is a fleeting feeling, at least in your opinion, when you see the top 3 battling and you're not able to close. While, mind you, he's got to be wondering eventually what's going on behind with all that fighting in the second pack still.
There is certainly a lot of room to work with here as drivers now try to jockey through the positioning here with 20 seconds to go. Really around this 5th position. And how about Giovanni Blackby, who is now going to hold on as they hold their way through with Christopher Yutzi in hot pursuit as well, right behind. Dragunov losing a couple of position as they work their way down, and you see Gavin Dyer realizing what trouble lays behind him as they close in closer and closer. He could possibly be outside of the top 5 before this is all said and done.
Absolutely here, as we'll find out how many laps total we actually have on the board in a moment, because clocks are still at 0. Right now, Price maintaining up at the point. They've now seen Dyer join up in the air pack. Everyone looking to pass by him quickly. Some side-by-side Blackerby amongst those going forward. Here comes some of the others now looking to move them. 8:05 down the running order. 2 laps officially to go this time by. Dragunov wants his spots back. Gets a little assistance from behind from O'Neill. As O'Neill squeezes one off. That is Dyer who went off.
Tough break for Gavin Dyer, looking to lead the race. Now going to look to be outside of the top 10 before this is all said and done. As we go back up to the front of the field, Price and Stoner looking to battle it out. They have left William Richard behind. And now the question is going to be, when will AJ Stoner fire off and lead this charge here with coming to the white flag?
Comes the thought on, where does he make the pass? We've seen the attempts coming to play a lot out of 14 today now. Time coming up to 12. Stoner maintains patience. The tuner for the engine side has definitely done a good job on the side of Stoner. They give him a shout out over the course of the weekend. The team did on social media. Right now, when you're thinking about 2 different manufacturer chassis that you have to work with, Stoner's looking to bring this Coyote up to the point on the final lap. It's Price and Stoner for the win.
It really is great to see the Coyote chassis trying to put on a good fight here in the closing stages of this race, but Jet Price doing everything he can to keep Stoner behind. This is going to be an interesting situation in the championship for Jet Price, looking to try to make sure he utilizes this race right here as his one and drop round one. This could be a big help for him in the championship hunt against AJ Stoner and company as they work their way around the circuit here for the final time, though. But Stoner putting more and more pressure on him as they come through the wide sweeping double apex.
Does Stoner go for it here, or does he try the straightaway? Defensive time for Price. Stoner tries to go for the crossover, gets to the inside. Stoner makes the move up the inner groove. AJ Stoner now leads coming up to the final main straightaways. Will Price get the run back down the straight? He went with Price on the inside with the send and the momentum. Price up in front takes the checker.
Incredible fight. How about JJ O'Neal recovering to a good finish inside the top 5, but looks like some issues with Tegan Schneider and Daniel Dragunov as they had some issues on that final lap there. So incredible fight to the finish, though, for our race leaders.
They'll see some drivers plummet down the order to end, but Jet Price over Stoner, Richard, O'Neal, Blackerby, Yutze, followed by Dyer, Bohr, Beck, and Van Horn were all inside your top 10. Dragunov, as mentioned, drops to 11th ahead of Hayden Lawson. Well, Kreitz, you also have Scheibel, you have Snyder, Gordon, DeCoster, Janda, Frey, McKay. They're part of your top 20 here in this field. You had 5 other karts in the field. That included Fisher, Cooper Mall, Jordan Lapham, Charlie Marin, and Henry Maskell. All drivers did finish the race, by the way, and take the checker flag. No DNFs. Taylor, that brings us into the finals in a few minutes' time. Your opinions on what we'll see in the final.
Well, it's time to give out the trophies here. It's time to give out the championship prizes and see who will be the lucky few drivers selected to compete in the Apex Finals at Trackhouse Motorplex in October. And it's all going to start once again with our Briggs Master. And I got to say, it's going to be an exciting fight up at the front of the field once again. Can AJ Roderick and company find their way to hold on, or will chaos pursue us all as we progress through this final day of racing action?
Rolsman, by the way, overturned penalty in the micro side. Let you know if there's any other changes coming into the finals. We'll take a quick break. We're minutes away from the finals.
Hi, I'm Jackson with Alpha Race Hub. Alpha is an all-in-one motorsports software solution that can solve all the software problems you need for your track, facility, or series. Alpha can cover all your software bases, from online registration, digital e-waivers, a proprietary timing and scoring software, incident management, automated points tabulation, tire and barcode scanning. We even have our own mobile timing app and rental kart activity management software. If you're looking to consolidate your motorsports software solutions, reach out to us at alphatiming.co.uk.
Macro Motorsports builds champions every day, drivers who won on the world stage. The Tillotson T4 Series is pure spec racing. Same engine, same chassis. When you win, it's because you were the best that day. Your edge is not the kart, it's the setup, the strategy, and the race team. With our Arrive and Drive program, you simply bring your gear, we provide the equipment and the championship-winning support to every event. Stop wrenching, start racing. Your path to the T4 Nations Cup in Spain starts with us. For more information, contact us at macromotorsports.net.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today.
Gee, looks like we're missing the engine. What the hell am I supposed to tag?
What do you mean? It's my Greyhound. It's all I need.
Where's the rest of it?
It doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
You're gonna make weight. Okay, you're good.
I'm sitting by here with Kyle, our race winner. Tell me how you did it. You were blazing fast out there, and I mean, you don't even have a go-kart, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you know, Norberg, Schmorberg, the Greyhound-powered Greyhound was great today. You know, it makes the difference. And the team's been working really hard back at the shop, and, you know, just shout out Greyhound.
Thank you, Kyle. How the f did you just win?
Doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
Hey guys, another Kart Chaser driver fitness episode with me, Chris G. And today we're doing some upper back movements. Here we go. Exercise number 1 today we're doing is the reverse grip lat pull down. This exercise movement is one of my favorites because it works your grip strength, your biceps, and most importantly, works that lat area that also protects those ribs in the seat. Exercise number 2 today, the dumbbell chest supported row. Don't forget, good stretch at the bottom, and bring them right to your hips like that, keeping your back nice and arched, shoulders back. Think about having good posture in the cart. Exercise number 3, the inverted Smith machine rows. Grip strength, back strength, overall amazing workout. Thanks again for joining me on another Kart Chaser driver fitness episode with me, Chris G. Race ready training that carries into real life.
Are you stuck with your kart racing? Not sure the ideal kart setup? Or going to a track for the first time? Well, Kart Class has the answers for you. Our online portal has a wealth of experience and knowledge to help your kart racing. From kart setup advice to track guides that are targeted specifically to your circuit, or the driver coaching aspects with mindset, racecraft and driving techniques. If you want to take your karting to the next level, visit us at kartclass.com.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson through on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
From the garage to the grid, Acceleration Kart Racing is your one-stop shop for karting. Engines, parts, safety gear, tools, and more from the brands you trust. Everything you need for race day starts at shopakr.com. Ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Looks like we're just about all set to get to racing for the finals. Here on Kart Chaser, Apex Karting Championships action as we get ready for the final. Up at the front, AJ Roderick and Ryan Curtin, followed by Ethan McKenna and Elliot McKenna. You also have Christopher Ashcraft and Levi Wilbur. J. Brian Williams and Eric King are in the top 8. Machiko and going. Part of your top 10. Here in this one, Taylor. Clouds are
This is
settling
gonna
over
be
the
an
racetrack, but the field's ready to go in the next moments or so, you were going to say.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one to see right now. As it stands, give it to AJ Roderick by about 30 some odd points right now over Levi Wilbur. This is not counting the drops that we may have to see between the two of them. So it's going to be a close fight to the finish here. And really, how well can Levi Wilbur find his way up ahead of AJ Roderick? But it's going to be tough because of how strong Roderick has been all weekend long. Little fist bump, a little bit of good sportsmanship on the front row. Let's put on a good show, gentlemen. It's time to give out the big trophies and the championship.
It's time to find out who's going to get the opportunity to do things here. Get themselves a championship here in this one. The field is all set to go. Briggs Masters, our first final of the morning session. Who gets the top step of the podium here today in Apex Karting Championships action in the Midwest? We're off and away. Field able to get a decent start. Roderick looks to try and take off, and the battle for second staying side by side to begin for a moment.
Side-by-side action as the 426 of Elliot McKenna also trying to fight with the 490 of Christopher Ashcroft, who has moved up a couple of spots there on the opening corner, as meanwhile, Curtin has checked out. It is a curtain call for him as he looks to run away from the competition here as the drivers of Roderick and McKenna try to chase him down.
To say the very least right now, that gap still seeing some separation build up pretty quickly. Roderick had good speed on the recovery for the spin and win here earlier in the pre-final just about an hour or so ago. Been that quick of a day so far. Series goes fast if you blink too many times. But right now, a lot of these drivers going in. It looks like we have a contact and a couple different carts crash.
You saw one driver lose it off the corner, and then unfortunately the other driver making heavy contact. Now he's stuck. Look how loose the back end is. That's the 431 of Tim Connell. I can't catch the other one. That's Levi Wilbur, maybe? Yes, it is. And with that would end his hunt for a championship. Tough break for Levi Wilbur. AJ Roderick, though, retakes the lead here, and he has just got to keep it up front to claim a championship in the Briggs Masters.
That's been a disastrous try to get some points back if you're Levi Wilbur, with it being one of the closest championship fights coming into today before the drop. Right now, AJ Roderick, depending on how things get signified, could very well have the advantage secured, with Wilbur potentially having to lean on a drop with this race as a result of the chaos today.
I mean, Roderick just got to stay pretty much within the top 3 for him to guarantee his championship right now as he works his way, though. But leading up at the front of the field, that's the best way to do it. Unfortunately, though, for Levi Wilbur, it looks like he is out of the race. He pulled it behind the garage. I don't see him on the ticker at all on the track map, so tough break there for Levi Wilbur as we watch on through the rest of the field here. Brian Williams moved up into 6th place, getting around Eric King as he tries to move up further in the running order.
Now remember, obviously, there are usually 2 different Masters classes. Technically speaking, that championship already clinched up with everyone getting to drop this week for the KA Masters, where right now, it is Chris Kutcher over the brother Andy for that championship. Very familiar names we know from MCC Cincinnati. Taylor, the Kutchers 1 and 2 over Elliott and, or rather, Ethan and Elliott, who are in this class as well, who are 3rd and 4th. So family members are 1, 2, and 3, 4 that finished things out of the K8 Masters that didn't take part this weekend in the racing.
Yeah, so great to hear about that with the Kutchers, but I'm pretty sure for Ethan and Elliott, they still want to try to see if they can end up on the podium here today. Ethan currently sits 3rd. I'm pretty sure Elliott wants to try to find his way behind him as well. He's currently sitting P5 right at the moment, as he's got the Carlos Sainz machine, the 490 of Christopher Ashcroft right in between the two of them, as now we see what the 427 of Ethan Bacchino is looking to try to do to get around Ryan Curtin for second, as he try to show the nose, but for Roderick, just keeping his distance here, trying to see if he can run away from the competition.
That's a huge thing right now, trying to make sure you maintain the gap. It's not growing as big as the others, but remember, it's your longest run of the weekend. In theory, remember, we've seen the racing go about 7 laps in the first part of the day, maybe about 9 to 10 in the second part of the weekend here in the pre-finals. Talking about extending an extra 4 minutes, we're talking maybe, realistically speaking, towards 14-ish laps. This is the most wear and tear, if you will, you have on not only your equipment in a singular stretch at once, Taylor, but also in terms of your tires that are going to be on the car, if in your kart rather, in terms of potential wear in terms of that matter. So you got to make sure you get the tire pressures the right direction. As Hunter Bolton said yesterday, was going down and down and down was part of the plan usually for some of these teams as you get more and more comfortable and as you have to turn more and more laps.
Absolutely, Justin, as we keep an eye on this fight here amongst these competitors in second through the 4th spot. Ethan Bacchino with Ryan Curtin right there in that steel Motorsports machine, just keeping the pace here. They really haven't lost touch with AJ Roderick, which is great news for these drivers as they are looking to try and find their way up to the front. We know they have the pace to battle it out with AJ. We've seen it all weekend long. The thing is, can they work together to keep AJ away from the race lead as they work on through the double apex here on the back half of the course? Ashcroft right there behind, trying to see if he can stay within the toe of the draft in order to help Curtin and Bacchino make the charge for the lead.
It's going to be a huge part of that, absolutely. We do have a bulletin coming through for the Briggs Seniors that happened a few minutes ago as we were getting gridded up. Briggs Senior pre-final featured multiple different penalties, Taylor. Owen Malley, remember we've seen the 948 have a spin around. Guess what? They went reverse on the racetrack. They got excluded per the race control bulletins. Again, this is pending any potential protests that come through and whatnot. But the Master ended up getting a cut in the course with advantage penalty for 5 seconds. Trumko ended up getting disqualified because he didn't weigh in scales. And Shoemaker got him avoidable contact for 5 seconds. Carson Benjamin answered responsibility 5 seconds. Part of some of the order. Regardless, or Steele Wilkie still was the top 3.
For Brian Williams.
That's J. Brian Williams, yes. Went around.
Tough break there for Brian Williams. Was running inside the top 7, now all the way to 9th and looking to probably finish there. No chance of catching up to either Gary Machiko or Michael Galen, who sits 7th and 8th right now. So not the way I'm pretty sure Brian Williams wants to wrap up the season here, but at least he will try to at least finish and bring it home under the checkered flag.
That would be the bright side, at least, to say you took a checkered flag to close the season. Obviously, you want to finish out with the first place trophy, but
oh yeah, and
sometimes, I mean, everyone wants to win.
By the looks of it, that might probably give him a guaranteed spot of finishing in 4th in the championship, looking over everything right now. Christopher Ashcroft may, depending on how well he finishes here in this final event, could maybe try and challenge Levi Wilbur for 2nd in the championship. That is yet to be determined, and how this all plays out as they work their way around here. But Ashcroft possibly one in contention to go for 2nd in the championship for the Briggs Masters.
don't forget, in all this too, you have Karting, who took a 0 to start off the season. Right now, Karting has a chance at minimum, based on everyone else having at least one start in around him, get to 5th in the championship, maybe 4th, depending on how things go. But it requires max points hauling. Yes, a quick correction to 5th is where Karting can get to the max on. So at the very least, get an opportunity, maybe get some signification of charge up the order, because Karting ended up with a 0, remember, in the points haul in round number 2's final. So Karting, if it was for that, would have potentially also in the conversation for the championship too, if it wasn't for how things ended up. G and J was 7th and no points.
Yeah, that's going to be a big interesting fight here once the championship rolls through and it gets official here for our competitors. But for AJ Roderick, looking to just continue on with his run here, just holding position. Curtin right there also in lockstep. I think Curtin also needs to realize with where he is, yes, you want to go for the win. If Roderick makes a mistake, go for it. But Curtin realizing he is going to get a handful of points to jump his way up the running order, as we watch a little further on with the battle for second, as Ethan Bacchino looking to try to pick up a couple of more spots. Of course, these drivers here like Ethan and Elliott, Eric King, and everyone else, they're really not in contention. This is their one and only start for the season. No changes for them in the championship as well. But it's a good way to where we can hopefully see them make the return, whether it be next season in the Midwest division, or maybe come on down to the South during the wintertime and have some fun down there, as we get set to watch on here with a minute 40 plus 2 laps to go here, as we watch Roderick, Curtin, and Bacchino holding strong here, waiting to see who will be the first one to make that brave and heroic decision for the lead.
All of them staying together. And I was about to say, to add on to the point of going south, don't forget, Texas is an opportunity in the future here that was talked about on the social medias a while ago for 2027. And that is essentially becomes that filler section from April to parts of September that also, for the most part, not overlap with the Midwest. So in theory, if you look at things on the schedule, there's a race a month normally on the calendar. You could, in theory, race in both the Midwest and in Texas if you wanted to travel across the country.
Yeah, if you wanted to do that here, and I know for a fact that is what some of these drivers will do here, and it opens the door because, you know, here in my neck of the woods in Texas, we have a lot of great motor racing circuits here that will test the limits of some of these drivers who may have never come on down here to the Lone Star State to try some of the racing action we have down here. But as we watch on for the race lead here, who will pull the trigger? It looks like Bacchino looks to the inside. He wants to take second away. Curtin will now have to deal with the battle with Ashcraft right here as he works his way around the inside. Could not find the opening. And he will maintain third as we watch Christopher holding on, trying to see if he can get that final push to get around for third.
Absolutely. You can see some sends up the inside. You're argy-barginess in amongst the order. We are right now coming up to 2 laps to go. Roderick still trying to hold on for the race lead with this battling going on as well with this grouping behind. You see the separation now built up significantly to 8/10 because of some of the pass attempts.
Here we go as we watch on through these competitors working their way around the circuit here. So far, Curtin doing everything he can to get back around for second. He knows this is his chance to maybe move up the running order here as they head down the back straightaway with 2 laps to go.
Yes, indeed. And now I think the buffer's there, obviously, for Roderick in terms of the separation on the racetrack. You know, indeed up at the order. Right now, though, you can see right now the sends being set up for 12 and 13. A poke maybe for Karting? No, he stays on the bumper. Or does he come up to the white flag?
Coming around to take the white flag one more time around for our competitors here as AJ Roderick has a lot of breathing room to work with as Bacchino, Curtin, and Ashcraft are now working not really together. They're more battling it out amongst themselves, realizing Roderick is running away. White flag in the air. Here they come down into turn number one as Bacchino holds strong as he tries to hold off Curtin.
All trying to stay steady and strong with the final time around here. Right now, the poke is on for Karting, maybe. Karting trying to rebuild the run, will reset. Ashcraft stays on behind as we go to the final sectors.
Watching on here as the drivers work their way through. Roderick doing what he needs to do. Curtin now has to try to figure out what he needs to do to get around Ethan Bacchino. He knows Bacchino's not really in it. He just wants to go for the trophy here, unlike Curtin, who wants to try to bump up in the championship standings, and it is running out of options. Same thing with, here comes Ashcraft to the inside, looking to try to get around. He'll go to the outside through the final couple of corners. It's going to be a drag race for third.
Meanwhile, up at the front, AJ Roderick unofficially gets the win and potentially the title. AJ Roderick, a Briggs Masters win, gets it done with a near sweep of the weekend.
You can't go more perfect than what AJ Roderick has done here this weekend. A second place in a heat race and then just continually dominating the rest of the day to unofficially claim the Briggs Masters Championship here. Our first champion crowned in the Apex Midwest Division, and it is an exciting one as the rest of the field comes across the line, but Bacchino and Christopher Ashcraft will round out your podium.
You also have Karting down the order in fourth, Elliott finished in fifth, King going followed by Machiko. J. Brian Williams down the order in ninth, and Levi Wilbur part of the two DNFs with Tim Connell in the Briggs Masters here today. AJ Roderick unofficially put a hand on the trophy, maybe two. With how things went today, with Wilbur likely using his drop today and Roderick dropping races where he had zeros for heat races from earlier in the season in this campaign. The Micros, meanwhile, they're just a few moments away from hitting the racetrack once everyone's off the circuit. We already talked about how that championship has basically been secured up with the top two not on property today. But right now, the main thing I think you can say here is, with the way things are going, is can Nelson get himself second step in the championship? If he gets the sweep, it's on. If he even gets himself a top 5, maybe even a top anything, it's on for the 230. And maybe even Miles Hale to try and get close to that as well, to at least rip away the 4th spot from TJ Akers.
It's going to be an interesting one here, I have to say, for the running here. But Kuiper Nelson, I got to say, keep an eye on him if he can move up. I mean, he's practically been perfect all weekend long here. And last round at G&J Raceway, practically second place. So this could be a perfect run for him to have a chance to move up the running order as well. So it's keep an eye on the situation here. Same thing with Clyde Clement as well. I have a feeling he might have something lined up for a good finish in the championship.
There's some opportunities there indeed, but it's time to at least give some fist bumps and secure things up on the racetrack here. Hearing that the wind is picking up here, though, Taylor, how much is the wind going to factor in? Because apparently one of our camera operators just about got flown away like Mary Poppins with an umbrella into the sky.
Oh, well, Hopefully he can hold on for dear life here. Maybe pop a spoonful of sugar in them, make sure to keep them all hyped up and ready to go as they work their way around. Here is the rest of the field coming through, but depending on the direction of the wind, if it's going to be a headwind for some of these drivers, they're going to be struggling coming right towards the back half of the course, but have a nice run down the back straightaway heading into the final corner will be critical. So we'll see how the lap times play out.
See the grid, by the way, on the screen. Kuiper, Nelson, Miles, Hill, Hamill, Burlesman. You also have Clement. You also have Red Blue, Wyatt Nelson, Jude Boss, then Harrison Fisher, and that's a part of the order of those on property. James Fox would be 10th if he hits the grid. We talked about Romy Boss already in their age bracket. Now, Toby Blue, the back of the order, because there was an engine change shearing. That's why the back of the order is coming up for the 290, so they had to make a bit of a swap here, potentially here, Taylor, for the engine.
That's going to change things up for sure in this running as they come around here. So he's going to have a lot of work to do to try to catch up. He's got 12 minutes, though, on his side. That's going to be the one thing that can help him out.
Yeah, now it's going to be interesting, not just how things go for the battle, but remember, Nelson, in the case of Kuiper specifically, did show some vulnerability, Taylor, because the run got within a second on the final lap at the checker flag to him after he had led by 4 or 5 seconds on the heat races yesterday.
And it's going to be a close one indeed here as they make their way into the tram line to get set. As the 230 machine is just letting them know, like, hey, let's take it easy here. Let's have a clean start, no false starts, and have a good fight here to crown our second ever Midwest Apex champion.
Here we go. Briggs Micro all set to go. Fox unofficially with the title right now, but right now it's teaming amongst the fighters as they are off and away, and Hale's off in the grass. Hale holds on to third. They hold on to it after some dicing is there, but already the fight is on for third after Hale's mistake in the top cart.
Not a good start there for Hale as he will drop back. That will move Ava Hamill up to second. Kuiper Nelson leads the charge as how about Hamill closing very quickly as they try to work their way through.
They all work themselves early on in the lap here. You can see them working to 11. Nelson absolutely on a roll to start this one off. Might have adjusted maybe with the gearing, we'll see, because right now it feels like Hamill has a really good setup for fire off here to start this final off, which is really helpful with the way Nelson's fired off like a firecracker all weekend. That corner coming out through 14, though, was not great for Hamill.
No, not a good run, but a great jump right there for Kuiper Nelson as they come out of the final corner. And here comes Hale and company. He's got help from Clement as they work together coming into turn number 1. The gap right now is just about a second between himself and your race leader. So a little bit of work to do, but still plenty of time. And we also wonder if Kuiper Nelson made the needed adjustments to make sure that he has that long run pace, which is maybe why we're not really seeing him run away like we did in the pre-final.
Yeah, meanwhile, let's go to Narnia. Yep, off into the grass. That is Boss, Jude Boss in the middle of Narnia. And it looks like might be able to actually get Jude back going here to be able to get them out from the middle of the forest and back onto the pavement. That being said, lead is starting to stretch away, and Hamill's actually falling back into the clutches of everyone else here. You have Hale, Clement also in that group.
Clement trying to work with Hale as they have caught the back bumper of Hamill here as they come through, stretching out the race lead. Kuiper Nelson starting to pull away here after this lap. Still about half a second now, but still Clyde Clement setting fastest lap of the race, moving up the running order as they try to chase down Brett Boss now inside the top 5, but they are 3.5 seconds behind. They have quite a bit of work to do if they want to try to catch up your top 4.
kind of do, to say the very least. And really speaking, these drivers are all running 116s at the moment, with Clyde actually with the quickest the time of the 293. Last time by with a 116 flat. It's pretty clear that as this weekend's going on, things have gotten more closer and closer to the 230. So really speaking, if you're Kuiper here, what's going through your mind knowing you've gone from decimating the field to potentially being at risk of having a pass attempt come into play with the final few minutes based on the timing of the last race?
Well, that's where you need to start settling in, finding a little bit of a different line and making sure that no one really can close that gap. Try to maintain it here and not really be that rabbit, but kind of just be that wall where you cannot allow those drivers behind you to pass you for position right here. So right now he's still maintaining it as he just set the fastest lap of the race, but it looks like he's not trying to overwork those tires as quickly compared to what we saw in the pre-final, where he was just gone until the final couple of minutes here. So I think if you just maintain the pace, he should be okay towards the end, where he shouldn't worry about being closed up and passed as quickly. Plus, when drivers do something like that, that also messes their tires, which will allow Kuiper Nelson to pull away further and further.
Yeah, exactly. And this is now back to where Nelson wants to be on pace, possibly. Been one of the more tamer classes of the weekend, outside of things, though, you could say. Outside of a couple moments here and there. The micros usually expect drivers to go pass, like, you know, Pac-Man, trying to eat the pebbles. But realistically speaking, it's been a lot more simple in terms of the approach. This has been more calmer feeling, I guess you could say, for the Briggs at least, for the micros this weekend, for the attempts on the track, the moves. It's not been uberly aggressive.
Yeah, I haven't really seen a whole lot of aggression this weekend out of the micros compared to what we see some of our other Briggs categories. So I think for right now, these drivers have just learned what they need to do, making sure that they just keep it on the track, learn a little bit about proper racing etiquette amongst themselves, which is still an important aspect for these young superstars to make sure that they continue on that upward trend. As Hamill nearly once again clipping that grass off corner exit. Got to be careful with that. We've seen time and time again, just one tire off in that dirt will cost you, and it's now costing them valuable seconds to their race leader right now. And so far, I think for Miles Hale and Clyde Clement, they are realizing that they need to try to find a way to get around Hamill as quickly as possible to go chase down Kuiper Nelson.
Six minutes underneath that mark already in the race. We're past halfway, and the time at least up on the board. Our second final of the morning session. Things have stayed pretty calm the course of the race here, completely over the course of the run. Times up at the front have stayed in the 116 flats. There's been a bit more fall off here. Look at Hale, nearly ate the back bumper for a moment. Hamill having to keep on edge here a bit because that was near contact up through 3 that nearly caused a spin around.
Certainly did. Now what will Hale decide to do here going into the braking zone? Not going to pass it here, but look at how much Hamill is just going really wide off corner exit right there. And in fact, Clement losing a little bit of touch with the second and third.
Now, just watching along and just thinking at this point, how much does the push effect really help when you have the raw single car pace like Nelson's doing? Because remember, the Briggs package draft is usually important like a super speedway, but it feels as though in a lot of the cases at this track, the leader's been able to break the toe and pull away in a lot of cases.
Certainly has been the case here, and so far they have been able to lose touch with their race leader here, as Hamill still struggling with traction off corner exit in some of those main high-speed corners here. So that is not a good look there for Ava Hamill, as she is trying everything she can to hold off Hale and company.
Under 4 minutes to work with up on the board here, a part of this pack. And we were talking a little bit about the schedules coming up with Texas. Of course, over the past few months, a couple tracks, at the very least, have been confirmed in part of the upcoming schedules over the past few months, especially since some of the Midwest, of course, before round one. Speed Sports for the Texas Series was confirmed. You have Moto for the finale that was confirmed at one point. That was before registration for the round 3. And of course, at one point, Jacksonville confirmed round 2 of the Southeast Series. Schedule slowly taking shape. We know the dates as we talked about. If you follow along with Apex Karting Championships on social media, you're able to keep track of those dates. Tracks, though, themselves are coming piece after piece together for the 2027 season for Apex Karting Championships action in the lead up to the finals for that year as well.
Absolutely, here as we watch on for the battle amongst these drivers coming around here and keeping it on this battle for second as Kuiper Nelson looks to continue with his run, pulling away further, 2.5 minutes. This is just about where we saw Kuiper struggling towards the end, where everyone else was starting to close the gap. So it looks like they made the needed adjustments to kind of just stay ahead. And I think also with Hale struggling to find a way to round Hamill is what's preventing Hale to make the charge for the race lead.
Again, it's the interesting thought of, will we see a fall-off effect? Or will Kuiper Nelson get the sweep of the weekend here? Under 2 minutes to go, now on the clock. Right now, they zip their way down the front stretch. And all you can say to this is, hold on, we got a black flag. Did you see that too? Yeah, somebody giving a black flag on the other side. I believe that was Boss.
That was Jude Boss. They are coming up to lap him pretty quickly, so that's why they're giving the signal like, hey, hate to say it for you there, Jude, but you gotta pull it in, as we have more drivers starting to pull away here from the drivers in this fight to the finish.
I think that's the first time all weekend, Taylor, we've seen the black flag come out like that for somebody.
I think, yeah, I believe so too. Looking back through the rest of yesterday's action, especially with the rain, yeah, not a single black flag was given. So tough break for Jude Boss to wrap up the season.
That being said here, we're coming up to 3 laps to go. One has turned into tamest out of all the potential races when it comes to Briggs Micro this weekend, it feels like. Does Hale attempt to pass eventually here? I think it's what everyone's probably thinking here. This time by, here's the interval difference, 1.5 seconds. It is working to close up at the back end of the race again, but they're going to have to close up a rapid amount of time again with the final 3 laps around the circuit here.
Certainly is the case here, as drivers are now working their way through. Go a little further back. This is around that 5th and 6th position here, as the 221 machine of Wyatt Berlisman is trying to stay ahead of Toby Blue, who's in the red dyno livery. And then just behind him is Rhett Blue in the green dyno livery, trying to close up and see if they can move up a little further in the running order.
Trying to find a little bit of momentum in their respective karts here to close out the day. As everyone tries to find the keys to getting to the top step of their respective orders here. On the bright side, you could be that person that, by the way, if you lost a set of keys, is at the Quaker City Clubhouse at the moment. That being said, look, one of the Blues is able to make the pass, use the outside.
He was able to find his way through, and the Red Dino will lead us here, but watch out, because here comes Burlesman with a big head of steam as they come down the front straightaway here, and he'll take a peek to the inside of that Kart Republic. No chance, though, to make the pass as he was too little too late. Ran out of time to make the run as we keep an eye back up at the front of the field with Hamill, Hale, and Clement. And it's pretty much just those three still single file. No one has pulled the trigger to make a pass because it's pretty much game over. This is the fight for second now, unless Kuiper Nelson makes a major mistake here in the final 2 laps.
Just don't see it coming right now with the way things are shaping up here. It feels like lap and a half to go. Nelson continuing to maintain up in front. There has been no switch arounds amongst the top 4 over the course of this race here this morning. Final time around. Kuiper Nelson just at the fastest lap of the weekend. A 1:15.713. The rocket is back out from the station. Hamill looking to defend for one more time around.
Looking to try to make it a Roderick Racing Development 1-2 here in your Briggs Micro. Ava Hamill doing everything she can to hold him off. Here to the inside, Clement trying to look around, and here comes Hale to the inside, and will move up to second. Beautiful pass there by the top kart driver as Miles Hale looks to try to pull away and hold on to second here, but Ava Hamill looking to try to counteract and try to make the pass back to the inside.
Right now, Kuiper Nelson looking to secure things. It's Hale now up in the second position in the air fight. Nelson get close to the championship, but not enough. The difference ends up coming to be 20 points is the estimate. James Fox unofficially with the title. Kuiper Nelson, though, unofficially second with the win and a sweep at Quaker City.
Incredible job by Kuiper Nelson as Hales and Hamill round out your podium, and Clyde Clement in 4th as the rest of the field will work their way around the circuit eventually. But I got to say right quick, Justin, that was an exciting fight here as here comes the rest of the field working their way around. Blue, Burlesman, and then, of course, the other blue driver coming around. And then Wyatt Nelson wrapping it up with Fitcher there in 9th. But we can officially make an announcement with the championship for your Briggs Masters division as Kuiper Nelson collects another win here today, sweeping the weekend. AJ Roderick is your 2026 Apex Midwest champion for the Briggs category, followed by Christopher Ashcraft and Levi Wilbur, your podium finishers in this championship.
On top to bottom of the order there, as drivers and their team members continue to go up on top of that brand new hillside for the garage construction. A lot of these team members at the very least trying to get a bird's eye view over the facility, be able to give information for their teams. Briggs Senior up next. See all the teams preparing themselves here for the next race in a few minutes here, Taylor. Your opinions for Briggs Senior?
Well, it's going to be a tight fight for the finish here in the Briggs Senior category. Sam Tutwiler currently, as we sit, has the points lead by a significant margin. Henry Wheeler's got to find a way to make sure he can keep a perfect weekend in order for him to claim a shot at the championship.
Yeah, that being said here, as they'll all get their high fives and whatnot finished up with the crew members. Again, the main thing when it comes to Briggs Seniors championship thought, Tutwiler had the advantage coming in. Looking to keep that advantage, looking comfortable with it. Henry Wheeler also in the mix.
Well, the thing for Henry Wheeler, he can easily just use round 2 as his drop race because of just how things worked out for him, unfortunately. It's a little more difficult, I have to say, for Sam Tutwiler because he's kind of just been consistent all weekend long this way. 3rd, 2nd, and a 4th for today's action. The worst finish he had was a 10th in the pre-final at the season opener compared to round 2 where he had a near perfect weekend. So it's going to be a tough call to make. Do you want to lose the 100 points you got from your 2 heat races in order to make sure you have a strong finish to win the championship? It's going to be a tough call to make here to see how the championship will play out. We'll have to wait and see once officially this race is over.
Of course, you see with Wheeler and Steele at the front of the field, those drivers are going to be fighting pretty hard. You have Chase Adams that's going to be on the second tab amongst some of the notables, Beckham Lewis, so many others that are in that mix. Scott Kleeman also down the order, for example. This field was sold out coming into this weekend. It's action-packed. It's filled with drivers. The question will be, which one will take the top step of the podium in Quaker City for what's going to be an interesting end in this one? 3rd final of the weekend for Apex Karting Championships for the Midwest. We're all set to fly around the racetrack. Here we go, green, green, green. We're underway. And a good start up at the front of the field for Wheeler as a lot of scattering 2 and 3 wide. Meanwhile, drivers like Steele and company look to make some rolls down the inside before we get up towards turn 7 through turn 6 to rumble. A lot of that front of the group at least sorted it out. The middle of the field is not sorting it.
Yeah, that middle of the field is an absolute hornet's nest of drivers as we watch on and see Henry Wheeler. One driver towards the tail end has slowed and almost come to a stop, but Henry Wheeler doing exactly what he needs to do. Be at the front of the field and take charge. He's got Mark Steele and Will Wilkie right behind him, but Tutwiler, he's right in the mix as well, sitting in 4th. Can he try to find something to make sure he has what it takes to win the Seniors Championship?
That's the question, I think, on a lot of the drivers' minds is who's going to get the edge, but better yet, who's going to be able to make the right decision here, especially since it's been clear up at the start. Wheeler, Steele, Tutwiler have been amongst the combination, someone, if not mostly, willing to work together every single race so far. That's going to be the big thing. You got to break them up if you want to try and go and change the status quo.
Certainly got to find a way and do it quickly here as they work their way around out of the backstretch here as one driver has some squealing tires trying to hold on for dear life here as they come around the circuit and work their way up through. But so far, Henry Wheeler doing exactly what he needs to hold position for the time being. Meanwhile, Sam Tutwiler also trying to find his way to make sure he stays within lockstep of Wheeler.
10 minutes to work with up on the board. Mind you, already, some drivers gone as high as 7 positions. A couple have gone up 12, like Stropko and Maui, who had the penalty situations before. Whitmire, amongst those who have fallen down the order, 20 positions. Landon Ashcraft down 16 with early troubles to get things going up for the grid itself here in this one. A lot of sends going down the order. That includes Curl that tried an attempt that didn't work out on Ionello this time. Addison able to defend.
Addison Ionello looking to try to hold on for a strong top 10 finish here as she works her way around. Leighton Mole breaks into the top 5. We've seen him compete on the regular this season as well as also at MCC. But meanwhile, back at the front of the field, Tutwiler really starting to put some pressure on Mark Steele for position.
We're doing a good job going lockstep again, as we kind of expected with the status quo here from this field. See them all willing to just bump draft each other, which you can do a lot in the Briggs package. We talked about that with qualifying. It was allowed. Seen it pop up a lot of the races here today. To work together. Ball and Eckhoff are trying to work together in the next pack. Then we talked about Ionel and Curl. Laser and Lewis are now 3 seconds behind the leader with O'Brien in the mix there, and Adams as well. All these little packs starting to form with Wilkie getting the personal best there. There's a look at some of the deeper on packs. That includes drivers like Lewis, been able to get into the top 10. Of note, Logan Hickman, a part of the drivers with incidents this lap, has plummeted down to the 20s.
He's actually plummeted all the way down to 26th position right now, but how about a couple of other drivers? Owen Mull has moved up 16 spots since the start of the race, up to 23rd. So give a big shout out to him right quick as we progress further at the halfway point of today's action.
Realistically speaking, though, thinking about this with a couple of the drivers here, it's obviously a big thing for some where I've talked with drivers that have started on the back foot tail with the qualifying in a field like this, and the confidence level can be, okay, I've got to drive through the entire field to have a solid weekend now philosophy. It's not as easy as it sounds to do that we've kind of seen a couple of the drivers have to do because their luck in the heat races was just non-existent.
Yeah, it certainly was the case here, and some of these drivers need to find that little extra in order to make sure it counts, but it's great to see some of those drivers who have made the needed adjustments from those heat races to be ready to battle it out here today as we still watch and keep watch of the battle for the race lead amongst your top four. Tutwiler's still in third. He's doing what he needs to do to prevent someone like Henry Wheeler to... Oh, trouble one driver around. Was that Leighton Moe by the looks of it in his Burrell Art machine? That's the 926. Yes, it is. Tough break for him as he tries to watch out for oncoming traffic.
That was a smart play for everyone else, though. Made sure to raise the hand to give the warning, hey, I've spun for the top 5. That was right around the racing line. Any more to his left, though, that might have been trouble. You see some scattering amongst some of the battles going on with Ionel and company, though.
Ionella trying to hold on there inside the top 7 right now as they have to deal with Curl and Laser. They'll work their way through around the start-finish line under 6 minutes. But Ionello has moved up into the top 5. A great run for her here today as she's got Brady Eckhoff and Ryan Curl right there behind.
Ionello's been having a solid drive here today, and we know honestly from multiple different series she's been able to be a consistent competitor up at the front usually. But speaking of up front, status quo broken for a moment. Tutwiler at the very minimum saying, I want to get the second here. Give me a chance to get a push. The big thing is, it's still a Steel 2-3 regardless of no matter how you order it. Now is the question, does Tutwiler try to make the pass on Wheeler eventually with Steele's assistance?
Well, one thing to keep in mind here, Mark Steele right now sits in 4th position in the championship.
Oh,
really
hold on, there he goes. Tutwiler to the race lead.
Beautiful drive right there with a little help. That now changes the entire looks of the championship right here. What will Henry Wheeler do? Remember, once he got past for the lead, he kind of held back and waited to the final lap as now we see Wilkie look to get around Mark Steele. He'll take the 3rd spot, and that is not what you want to have happen if you're Tutwiler. You now lose your dance partner of Mark Steele to help you out. We're now down to a 2-horse race.
That's for now, though. Let's see how long that lasts. Wheeler and Tutwiler hooked up again. Tutwiler, again, looking like he's in strong position for the championship as long as he stays up front. First round would be the drop, potentially because the pre-final had a 10th place in that stretch of races. Wheeler, meanwhile, has been basically on a sweep of the weekend so far. is in position where the second round of the season over at G&J with the one they get the drop, the home of the OVKA campaigns in the Ohio regions of racing competition. So really speaking, as everyone else is back in the mix yet again, Tutwiler saying, you know what? What's going to walk off victory? Assistance from Wilkie to take the race lead. Wilkie to second.
Watching on here as they work their way through. You see the hand gestures coming out right now as they work their way around. The 901, though, of Wheeler holding strong in second. He's got the pressure from Wilkie and company as Tutwiler starts to pull away.
Don't think that's going to last too long, though. It seems as though in this class, it's not like we've seen in the micro. There can be a breakaway that quickly. Not really here. That hasn't been the case here in this class.
Watching on here as Tutwiler doing exactly now what he needs to do. Maintaining the lead, doing that, keeping Wheeler behind him. But here comes the driver of Wilkie and company. He wants to try to get around to make sure it's a definite shot for Sam Tutwiler to win here today in the championship for your Briggs seniors with 2 minutes 13 plus 2 to go.
Two minutes or so to work with. Ainello has been a part of those shuffled. Taking a look at some of the glances, plus 10. Now plus 11 for Connor Hall's off screen, plus 20. James Strupko, part of some of your biggest movers in the conversation. It's time to go for the race lead, though. Wheeler to the point.
Wheeler now finding his way. He'll look around, but here comes some rest of the field. Wilkie and company will cat around Wheeler for the time being. That now moves Tutwiler once again back up front. And now Wheeler in third, Wilkie in the second position. What will Wilkie decide to do as Wheeler looks for an opening?
Tried it there, nothing doing. But the lap times here are going to be 3 laps to go this time by Taylor. 3 laps to go at the stripe. Wilkie pushes down, gives the push. Will Wilkie hasn't led a lap here today in the pre-final or the final, but has been a big player here, but now gets shuffled again. Wheeler retakes second.
The question is going to be, can he find a way to catch back up to Tutwiler? We know if these 3 start battling, that will allow Tutwiler to pull away from these drivers as they head down the short chute. So these drivers are working together now as we see Henry Wheeler with a big run. Does he make the pass here? No, he does not, but watch out because here comes Mark Steele with a head of steam to get around Wilkie.
They all try and shuffle again down the hillside. They rumble. The fights are on to see who gets on top here in this action. Clock reaching zeros this time. 2 to go when they get to the stripe. 4 cars with an opportunity. These carts staying all tightly together for the race lead again. It's time for another change. Wheeler again sends it. Now Tutwiler responds back to the inside. Wilkie stays hooked up.
He got a good set. He found a hole. He took it, and now he's back up at the front of the field. Wilkie will move up to second. Now Wheeler's got to figure something out. Can he find his way around the 2 Roderick Racing and the Steel Motorsports drivers here with only a couple of minutes or a couple of quarters left for him to try to figure out something fast? He's moved back to second.
They'll all see if they can get back up to the point here with Tutwiler leading. Wheeler's been in the mix all weekend. He's been quick all weekend. Sports car racer over in Europe. Now, he looks to wind up the momentum again. They've done it in a bit different spots than most all weekend, especially up to start sector 3 through 12 through 13 through 14. Have been popular for them. Will Wheeler go for it again? Yes, he will. Wheeler to the inside again. Had to back out of it this time. Coming up to the white flag this time.
Oh, trouble for a couple of drivers. Goes off into the grass. Unfortunate for them. But watch out, because Addison Iannello is really making a charge here. I don't think she's going to catch him before it's over, as Tutwiler goes to the defense and starts to white line around the circuit here. And now Wheeler's got to figure something out. He's got to be aggressive here as Wilkie tries to go around the outside.
Final time around. Let's find out where they go. How about side by side before 6? Wheeler in a rare spot for passes this weekend. Up to the front. Tutwiler goes low. Now they go high. Tutwiler trying for the crossover attempt to build up momentum. Has to reset for turn 8.
Here we go.
He sends it deep in contact. It's Wilkie in lead.
And that will drop Wheeler all the way back further, and that will allow Addison Iannello to move up into 4th.
Will this last for Wilkie, though? Steele has been quiet in this conversation here, too. The boss man looking to try and get himself up to the front. Wilkie goes defensive. Up through 14. 4 carts still in the mix. Tutwiler's back in the fight again. Side by side for the race lead. Assistance from the outside. Those are the Steele entries trying to push. Wilkie, though, gets the edge. Contact behind. A spin for Tutwiler, who gets second. Carnage behind as Wilkie gets the win in Apex competition.
Oh my goodness, what some crazy action we've had right there. Unfortunate for Addison Iannello, she didn't get to cross the start-finish line before that. Mark Steele does get it, but look at Will Wilkie Tutwiler. Pending penalties, because I have a feeling there may be some coming to the checkered flag here, and as we see here. So unofficially, I think give the championship right now maybe to Sam Tutwiler. Addison Iannello definitely not happy about what just happened here.
I know, talking with drivers and various different spectators down the fence line. There's Tutwiler. Unofficially, title is, and as you can tell, not maybe the happiest, or at least just fired up the motor. In the end, though, that was probably the most entertaining finish of the weekend outside of a close drag race we've had in some of the action. Obviously, we got physical, especially to see the end, but Wilkie, who had been one of the wingmen of the weekend, able to get the edge here, Taylor.
Absolutely. So we'll see how this all plays out. Meanwhile, we're getting set for the mini category. How about a quick look at our Briggs Micro Championship? Officially, it goes to James Fox with the championship. Kuiper Nelson moves up to second after his perfect weekend. And then Remy Boss moving up to third. A great run for him as well this weekend. Unfortunately, didn't show up for this round along with James Fox, so he will still collect third place championship. So great run for your top 3, but Kuiper Nelson picking it up where it counts here with a sweep of the weekend.
It's time for some pickup. We'll be back after this. You're watching Kart Chaser.
When it comes to innovation on the track, Odenthal Racing Products leads the pack. From the highly popular EasyGP camera mounts to our tough case to GoPro case, racers everywhere trust ORP for strength, reliability, and precision. We're proud to be the #1 engine mount manufacturer in the USA. And with our new Easy Bumper Retainer System, you won't get caught out with a failed bumper bolt again. Odenthal Racing Products. Lead or get left behind.
Wins the Wisconsin Grand Prix! James Overbeck on start number 2 gets win #1 in OKN Stars.
On track or off, Brandon Jarsekrak Racing delivers elite performance. Led by 4-time Pro National Champion Brandon Jarsekrak, our team masters driver coaching, data-driven analysis, and mechanical precision at every national event. Contact us today at BrandonJarsekrakracing.com.
Karting isn't just speed. It's control, precision, freedom. At Atlanta Motorsports Park, Kart Freedom isn't just a team. It's where drivers are made.
You know, I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my god.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Of course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCare.com. At ShopPayCare.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCare.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Motorsports.
Cut. You all right, man? You sound way off.
What?
I don't know, you sound like you're asleep still. Is the age finally getting to you? You're only how old, 42?
Dude, I'm 27. I'm not even 3 years older than you.
Well, that's pretty old. That's 3 years away from Masters, dude. You need a little pick-me-up. Try a Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Do you walk around with these in your pockets?
I actually do. Always two, one for me and clearly one for you.
Whatever. Not that old, dude.
Did it help though?
Yeah.
Pericazo. And you are that old.
Take a look at our group of karts as they get set to go again. The Briggs Minis are due up on track next. Minis, remember Anderson Hemphill, not here this weekend, is in position to clinch the championship at the moment. Depending on how things fare out for some of the others on drop rounds. But Aiden Harbaugh has been here for the first time in this series this weekend, has done very well. Logan Pollock, Theo Stevens, Ruben Greer in the top four. Laser, then you also have Slaybach, Illick, McNeely, along with Remy Boss in the debut of the Minis today. Dylan Goddard amongst those in the top 10 in this run-through for the Minis. Been an impressive field for some of the cases, Killer.
It certainly has. Quick alert, of course, we don't have any penalties yet, but right now, as we speak, with our Briggs Championship, Sam Tutwiler is your champion. Of course, making sure there's no pending penalties. So far, the results are in showing official or unofficial results. No tech penalties have been given out. But it's Tutwiler, Wheeler, and Will Wilkie, your top three.
That's depending on if there's any penalties for all the physicality on the final lap there. That could be the decider. But if there's a title change over the next little bit here, that we'll keep an eye on. Absolutely, Taylor. That could be absolutely huge. For the Minis, all ready to do battle. Wind staying high. The karts are going really fast. The tram lines, and then some. Off and away as they go near fast forward. Stevens disconnected immediately.
Aiden Harbaugh and Pollock and Theo Stevens already trying to work on their way through the running order here as they work their way up through the couple of corners to start off the action here. And everyone's single file as they make the run towards the back half of the course.
Yeah, right now, single file for them. They work for the youngsters here in the field again. Right now, Harbaugh. He's been a hard person to make passes on, it feels like, but Stevens, who got their first career Apex pole this weekend from that family, really trying to build the momentum to do something here. Instead, they take it straight to the back bumper. My place rolling to go in that part of the racetrack, it feels like, up towards 12 and 13. But right now, it becomes the question, who will be the first to take a chance to step outside of the status quo?
And that's going to be the tough question here as we still got plenty of time. I have a feeling no one's really going to try something as poor Ruben Greer thinking he can have some help, but no one is near him. But he's still found a way to make a charge and close the gap up to the top three.
The entire choo-choo train starting to see the splintering of the caboose carts. How about some sense by Pollock trying to go inside? picked up something from the seniors, maybe. Stevens now under attack by Greer. Greer, oh, that was a little bit of side pod contact. Hold on a moment. Physicality to try and hold on to third.
Physicality really stepping up indeed here amongst these young future superstars as the mini drivers try to do battle. Greer up to third. Can he find a way to pick up a couple of extra tenths to close in and battle for the race lead as they come barreling down? Harbaugh and Stevens doing what they need to do, but Greer with help from the 174 machine of Stevens. That's a big situation to have happen here.
Yeah, especially with him shuffled back in the order. But Pollock been feisty here this weekend. In the case of Pollock, he's at the speed. However, fourth, second has been the tallies under the board so far with Harbaugh on the chance for a weekend sweep. You see the shuffles and down the order as well. That includes Claybach. She's trying to hold back the group. Still trying to fight hard. You see some of the others like Gillick losing positions pretty quickly to the back of the order.
Ruben Greer setting the fastest lap of the race so far, and that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on as they work their way around, as Greer is trying everything he can to move up the running order in the championship, as he missed out round 2. So a good finish here to wrap up the season could be what he needs to break further inside the top 10 of the championship running order. As we watch these 4 drivers battle it out, Harbaugh trying to pick up a couple of extra tenths here to make sure he stays ahead of Pollock.
Yeah, you see the send coming up the inside for Pollock. Gets himself up to the point. Harbaugh loses the lead for the first time in a little bit in this series, for this round at least. Greer to second. Now, I don't think we're done passing, obviously, for the race lead, but Greer, again, you talked about it. We've seen Greer in a lot of different classifications, in a lot of different races, especially trying to move up to the ranks for the past few years. He's been racing since 22 for a reason. Now, once those in the fight, as you see the other pack go side by side as well, McNeely amongst those.
Well, you got to remember, Ruben Greer is already an Apex champion this year with winning the Briggs Mini Southeast Division. So he knows a thing or two about getting around here with these mini cars, and I gotta say, he is trying everything he can. And of course, he finished second in the Miami mini category this year, so he's already looking forward to try to get ready for Trackhouse and the finals later on in October. But I'm pretty sure he's coming out here trying to see what the competition is like amongst these drivers here in the Midwest to get himself ready to go battle once again in the finals later on this year.
I think so too, and Ruben Greer, keep in mind, already has won a few different karting championships, usually backed by Racing for Children. And once his career, he's now the race leader, in fact. Gotten some opportunities in a variety of different series this year, some different chassis. Also, got some opportunities to join Hendrick Motorsports and some of the victories Corey Day got in NASCAR competition also. So it's a familiar face in various different paddocks, it seems. We put some of those celebrations on top of the charity opportunities he's had with Racing for Champions that looks to distract kids from cancer treatment with hot laps.
Really incredible run here as we watch on this battle amongst your top 4. Pollock and Greer still doing battle here as they work their way around, with Greer holding on to the race lead. Pollock trying to hold on and get back up towards the front, with Harbaugh still looking on. He sits comfortably in third. They're losing touch, though, as Theo Stevens starting to lose a little bit of ground. He's gaining a little bit right here. Big send to keep up. Got to be careful not to lose too much ground.
So less than 6 minutes to go on the clock right now as the youngsters continue to battle it on out. The minis for the Briggs, the 206s. See the difference, leaders 4, 5. There's the next group. Led by McNeely still. Solid drive to the order for a couple drivers, including Boss. Looks like Remy Boss has been able to get stronger as the weekend's going on in the minis. Now it has a chance for a top 5.
Trying everything he can here with a strong finish. McNeely looking to move up. Currently sits 6th in the championship. Looking through his running results, this would be his best finish of the season, which could be a nice little points run for him, given the fact that Robbie No is not here. So he can move up quite a bit in the running order if he plays his cards right and finishes strong here.
Could be very helpful to at least get a top 5 bit of hardware, if you will, or statistically at the very least. Absolutely. As they all make their way through again down the front. Boss is now indeed in the 5th. Oh, there was a bit of contact there. Illick in the back end of Laser. Bo Laser's gone the opposite way, it feels like, this weekend, because 8th, 3rd, and 5th were the previous runs for Laser. Was up in the mix. In fact, the race a couple times in some of the heats. Bo's 181 machine. Won some of the lower tallies up at the front. There's some more squabbling up at the race lead. I was about to say in the case of Bo. On the bright side, it isn't the first round when he finished 19th in the opening round of this season for the Midwest.
Absolutely here as we watch on with this grouping here with Bo Laser and company. Of course, we've seen Bo being done phenomenal work all throughout the season, whether it be at IKC, at the K1 circuit at Whiteland, MCC as well. Really got some incredible pace. He just needs to find that little bit of a breakout on the national stage here or regional stages to really showcase that he's got some incredible talent. Trouble for Milan Ilic, who has dropped back to 11th position right now as we keep an eye on some of the other competitors. No changes up at the front of the field. It's still Greer, Pollock, and Harborough, your top 3. Harborough, who was able to set the fastest lap of the race so far, staying right there in touch as we watch this battle with Remy Boss, Jackson McNeely, and Bo Laser for the 5th position, as Theo Stevens still sits comfortably in 4th. As here comes that charge. Bo Laser looks to the inside, looking to try to get around McNeely for 6. Can he make it stick? Oh, a little bit of a jump of the curve for both these two drivers as Laser holds the inside. Here comes the hungry hounds behind him of Joseph Panico and company as they charge ahead.
All of them steady themselves out. By the way, talked about the Masters looking secure for points. That is officially clear of results. Results are officially official. For your Masters, AJ Roderick officially has that title 100% now. He talked about it looking secure pending tech. Gets the points tally in that category by what's going to be about 125 points over Christopher Ashcraft, who took 2nd over Wilbur because of Wilbur having the way things ended here today. More battling still going on in this grouping on screen, though. This pack right now, they just do not want to stay steady. They know their season's coming to an end.
Oh, Bo Laser hitting the dirt a little bit right there. Exactly, but Bo holding on for dear life here. Gives a little tap of the helmet like, hey, sorry about that, but let's try to work together. We're losing time, but I gotta say, if I was Remy Boston Company, and I'd be like, you're starting to slow us up, we're gonna go around you. And Remy Boss does that indeed to find his way around. He's gonna take everybody around the outside as more drivers now decide to go with Bo Laser to work with him.
Everyone trying to be laser point focused, if you will, right now with 50 seconds off the board. Up in this group, we're at about 3 laps to go, regardless. There's some help for Remy Boss again. Able to squeak on by up more positions as they try and figure out where they want to go. And obviously we talk about the chance to move up in the case of Remy in the red speed here today has been really showcasing improvement. One of those that has started in recent weeks getting chances in Mini. Only in July moved up the age bracket here, Taylor. So this is, if you include cadet starts, technically speaking, which again I think would be the exact same thing as maybe the Mini. I think essentially you're talking about this is just the 4th total start for Remy Boss in this age bracket since moving up from Micro, which was the main focus for most of the year.
Yeah, it certainly was the case here, and I'm really excited to see how this all plays out amongst our competitors as the drivers try to negotiate through. Bo Laser making sure he stays ahead, but look at Remy Boss doing everything he can. He finds his way to the inside, and now he might be able to clear Bo Laser for position.
Here we go again. Clock's at 0, 2 laps to go. Ruben Greer just set the fastest lap of the race up at the front of the field with Pollock on the rear. Fastest lap of the weekend is the better way to say it because it was a 1:13.486. Greer rocketing away with Pollock, but is Pollock going to set something up? That was not easy though for Pollock. Dropped the left side tires off the edge of the pavement.
That's not what you need to have happen here, and Greer and Pollock now have plenty of breathing room to work away from Harborough as they come around to get the white flag one more time around for these competitors. And how about a new track record for Ruben Greer?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's a good pickup, especially with the temperatures picking up. Seems as though the karts today, around this window of temperatures, have been really feisty. It's only 68 Fahrenheit. What's that saying we usually have for the sim racing side? It's usually fairly cool for your track temperatures for the grip levels. The speed's picked up. Greer, Pollock, and Harbaugh in the top 3.
Harborough sets the fastest lap of the race here, and a new track record for him as well, as he will lead them in and try to see if he can catch back up and reclaim the lead here with only 1 lap to go. Jackson McNeely picked up 3 spots last time by as well, but it's all for here at the front of the field. Greer looking to collect his first win in the Apex Midwest and looking to add on to what he has had an incredible season in the Apex Championship.
Question will be, which driver comes out on top for the race win for this finish? Who gets himself a win in Mini? Pollock all over the rear end. Waiting for a chance to go. Doesn't get the chance. Harbaugh needs a miracle to get the sweep of the weekend. Needs to find a way to pass 2 karts in 1 corner. Greer stays in defense. Here they go for the straightaway.
Who's going to pop out here and try to take over the lead as they come out of the final corner. It's Ruben Greer looking over the shoulder. Here they come across the line. Give the win to Ruben Greer.
Ruben Greer gets the victory. Pollock in second, Harbaugh in third. Some karts have gone off the racetrack in the midst of the battling back here. But drivers like Laser just trying to get to 5th. And Will over Goddard. And chaos about with McNeely sent off the racetrack, Taylor. Ruben Greer by 71 thousandths gets the win, though.
Incredible run there by Ruben Greer, and just to add another victory for him in 2026. It's an incredible drive. I got to say, Ruben is going to be one to watch when we head to Trackhouse in October.
I think you could definitely say that, contending for multiple different classes. In terms of the Apex ladder, at least, in multiple different regions. We'll see where things officially stand, but Hemphill looks to be comfortable for potential for the championship, depending on how Pollock's drop gets calculated here. But that brings us to one final race, doesn't it, for your morning session. Briggs Jr. is due up on the racetrack in a few moments here today, and Taylor, the juniors have had some interesting moments. That's been a pretty tight battle with Stoner, with Richard, with Scheibel, all in the conversation for the title.
So far right now, Stoner has about a little over a 20 or less than a 20-point advantage over William Richard. Jacob Scheibel right there in the hunt as well, but he would need a lot of help with how much he struggled this weekend. He's going to have a finish higher than 5th to maybe have a shot at it, but a lot can go on here as we get set for the juniors.
206 Junior looks like they're getting the command to start firing up some of the motors here for this group. And taking a quick glance at some of the drops right now, Scheibel's looking like a drop weekend on the mix. Richard, gonna be curious depending on how things go where the drop actually calculates. Stoner may get the first round as a drop with the third, second, and second depending on how the finals go for Kart 814. And as the last of the clippings get picked up for some of the team members, we're just about all set for Briggs Jr. Racing action. If you've enjoyed the action so far, be sure to say hello. For those watching along here in KC Premium here today, are you enjoying the action? Today's random word of interaction is banana. Will anyone actually do that? We'll find out. That being said, the field is on the racetrack. Your keys to victory in Junior.
Well, pretty much it's going to be an important fight for the finish. Jet Price sitting 6th in the championship. This is looking to be his proper race to utilize compared to round 1 where he could drop that. So I have to say, if he is able to take care of his stuff, he may have a shot of moving up in the championship here. For the most part, our biggest field, if you're up front, try to keep up least amount of mistakes. If you're in that mid-pack, be careful of the chaos that is about to ensue in front of you here today.
Jet Price, AJ Stoner, William Richard, JJ O'Neill, the top 4, Blackerby, Yutzi, Dyer, 4, Beck, and Dragunov, all part of your top 10 order today. Some of them have gotten opportunities. Dragunov going to have to find a way to bring that cart quickly on fire off. It's been the long run. That's been the tough part about the happy cart, it seems, this weekend on the eyeball test. Hayden Lawson, 11th. Will Kritzen, 12th. Jacob Schott, down 13th, has had a rough weekend. Travis Van Horn, Rylan Gordon, Lincoln DeCoster, Janda Snyder, Frey McKay are the rest of your top 20 in the order. And, of course, one more tab of teams and drivers. Fisher, Mole, Lapham, Marin, Maskell, Clevenger in the order tail.
Absolutely, as we keep an eye on this fight here for the finish. And it's going to be an exciting one. Who will be on the top step of the podium and win the championship? We're about to find out as they come into the tram line to take the green flag, and away we go. Jet Price already with a great jump on the field as he will lead the charge. J.J. O'Neill will follow in second with Stoner dropping back to third.
Immediately off to a solid start. You see the pointing already on, though, for some of the teams because I think there's been issues in the back of the field. A couple carts and crew members scrambling as everyone else scrambles their way up through turn 7. It's Price, the help of Richard, begin things off at the front of the field. As you can see, though, things look to have been cleaned up at the back of the order from now as the front of the field works its way to the back half of the course. See a couple of the drivers as they go about here in battle right now. J.J. O'Neill up in the 4th position. Going to be somebody to keep an eye on potentially here the rest of the weekend. J.J. O'Neill in particular been feisty in conversation in terms of the cart, I mean, not in terms of talking to somebody. Just because we've seen just how much that cart's wanted to pounce its way through the traffic to get back up in the conversation for the front like it was at the start of the weekend. Roberts that had issues, Preston Fisher, Hendrick McKay. They've both had problems to start off this one. They're now 25th and 26th respectively to start off this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough hill to climb for those drivers there in those positions, but they're going to try it everything they can as they work their way around. They got plenty of time to make up ground, but I don't think they're really in contention for a top 10 or a top 5 finishes, maybe top 20 that they'll have to work their way through as we keep an eye with Jet Price and AJ Stoner trying to work with William Richards to keep up and play, just pretty much make it a 3-cart race for this win.
10 minutes to work with. See some of the pack staying single file, but it's a 3-cart breakaway up in front. See some of the work. That is one of the Roger Racing development entries, and Blackerby Giovanni, we haven't talked about too much specifically about him in this because that Kart's been in the Monster Top 10, kind of been there, but quiet in some circumstances. That is a driver local to this racetrack. Of course, it's ran Midwest competition. The top 10 finisher in the series a couple times already, but one of those on the local track that's done pretty well with the outfit in the 8:14:44 to do what he's needed to do to claw to the field. You could also add in Jonathan Bohr in this, from qualified penalty to the top 10 Taylor for the final.
That's not a bad deal here for him as he's trying to work their way up through the running order here in this race as we watch on with this battle for the race lead here. Stoner, O'Neill, Utsi really trying to see what they can do if they can catch back up to the rest of the field because they have a lot, or O'Neill and Utsi have lost touch with your top three as we watch them work their way down the hill here. A couple of drivers just trying to see if they can poke their nose out to gain a spot. So far, though, no one is willing to pull the trigger. Just as I say that, one driver, Utsi, moves around O'Neill for fourth position.
Able to zip bomb by. Here comes some more assistance coming from behind, possibly. And that is Bohr up inside the top 5. This has turned into an incredible recovery drive of the entire weekend. We talked about the difficulty to do that for the stealth entry. It's been a challenge, but for one of the usual runners in Route 66 competition, able to join into the fray. Top 3 are still single file. Now for the majority of the others, they have joined the same way as a bit of a checkup effect as nearly 3 different drivers drop tires there.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one in here indeed. You got to be careful with how much you drop those tires. We've seen how it costs us position and time on your competitors here as we work their way through. Watching on as the 837 machinist just trying to find a way to hold on for dear life here as they work their way up to catch up to your top 3.
A couple of the others trying to zip their way at the back of the order on some passes. Dyer, you can throw in some of the conversation trying to do stuff. You also throw some of the others trying to do something, anything to keep on track. Look at Snyder, for whatever reason, pointing around in and about. Blackerby has been moved to the back of this order from being up in the top 5 all the way to the caboose. And now gets passed by Snyder.
Snyder doing all that he can to work his way up the running order, and I gotta say, trying to get into the top 10, but so far with no help, it's gonna be a tough one all by his lonesome. He's gonna need a little bit of help from the draft to try to get by the drivers of Scheibel and Lawson.
It's gonna take a bit of effort, but we've seen that effort pay off, so realistically speaking here, but this part of the track, you're seeing the bumper-to-bumper working. Right now, some of the biggest movers in this field are in this pack. +7, Tegan Snyder. There's a +5 in the order of Henry Maskell, who's had a rough weekend. So, that being said, most of this field has kept the track position. You see some of the passes, O'Neill amongst them.
Looking at some of these here, as looks like for Jonathan Bohr losing a ton of spots right there as Dyer moves back up into the top 5 with O'Neill and Lawson right behind helping him out. It's going to be a tough fight to see here in this top 5 positioning as these drivers are really trying to give it everything they got with the final race of the morning. Ooh, black flag is coming out, I see, so be prepared to see what could happen there.
Well, this could get interesting. That's only the second one in this race. See which way that gets recorded for the scoring as they all work their way through Sector 2.
I have a feeling, keep an eye on Preston Fisher or Henry McKay, who might be the ones who could receive that black bag because they are getting close to being put a lap down. And usually with that, they usually just don't want lap traffic in the way of our leaders here in this event as we watch Price, Richard, and Stoner. William Richard, fastest lap of the race so far.
That's a 1:13.404. That was last time by within a few 1,000ths of what Stoner did. Price
Here we
was
go.
within a few hundredths. Here we go again. Richard leads the charge this time, up to the point. William Richard. And he's off
in
the track
grass.
for a moment.
He still keeps his foot in it and is able to hold on. Richards couldn't get around. Same thing with Stoner as they work their way through. But how about William Richards to the top of the field here, leading the charge as Price all the way back to third, as looks like Stoner clipped the grass a little bit coming off corner exit.
Kept it going though. Look at the sandbag, nearly sent deep by Price. 4 minutes to go on the board. It's getting a little intense again as Stoner looks for a place to go. And now, as they all try to recoil up the runs here, seen some good work being done together for a couple of these teams here. Right now, Dyer of note has gotten up to fourth in the R-Pack.
Certainly seems to be the case here as we watch on this battle for the race lead, as Jet Price now has to figure something out, and quickly, because now he's starting to lose a little bit of touch with Richard and Stoner starting to pull away. Big run out of the final corner though for Jet Price. Does he decide to pull the reverse and make the pass? No. And all of them nearly clipping the dirt off turn one.
They're setting up the inside. That puts Stoner back in the order as a result there. To regroup. And was about to say in the midst of all of this, gotta think about where things to go. Richard, we talked a little bit about that side. Price has been quick in multiple different series this season. Stoner, a part of this region, one of those that's been working with just tuners such as Luke Montgomery to make this motor sing, and right now needs a way to close up. You can see Stoner, but the body language needs to find a way to tuck up and close up before getting reeled in by Dyer instead and losing a chance for the win.
He's got to find a way, because here comes Jet Price looking as well to get a pass for the positioning here at this time. But I think it's going to be too little too late here as he tries to set himself up for the pass.
Here we go again. 2 minutes to work with, just about on the board. Price takes the cut inside, doesn't get there for two. Setting back in line as they continue to battle. Stoner, Richard amongst those battling for the title. These could be critical spots depending on the drop between the 887 and the 814. With Jet Price in the mix, just trying to find a way to get top 5 of the point standings, if not top 4, among some of the highest potential possibilities for Jet. All of this has championship ramifications here as things close up here at the front. And that's not even factoring in Gavin Dyer's mix in this too, where Gavin can potentially get himself in the conversation with his drop.
Certainly is the case here as we watch on. Here comes Price down to the inside. He will reclaim the race lead ahead. Richard moves back to second as Stoner loses touch and drops to third.
All of them shuffling about right now. Can say with some of the updates in the various logs here. Stoner over Richard right now. Remember, with 17 on the distance coming into this race. 17 points. What's that margin between those two respective teams here? We see just how much these drivers want this. 3 to go, coming to 2 laps to go. Jet Price working hard to stay in front of Stoner here as they make their way forward, with Richard now shuffled back the order again. 26 seconds on the board.
26 seconds left to go here. Can he find his way around here and looks to see if he can take on the chance of winning a championship here, as Price looks to try and make sure he has what it takes to put on the finish.
See the head down again for Stoner for a quick moment. Richard all of a sudden fading and fading fast. Become the Kart's 3 intro all of a sudden. Meanwhile, Price just trying to see if the price is right for him. Needs to hold on for 2 more laps. He tucks down. No tuck down for Stoner this time. as they come up to 2 to go. Jet pokes in the air, wants him to get some assistance from Stoner to make it just a 2-kart battle for the win.
Two karts here battling it out for the chance of glory to be on the top step of the podium here at Quaker. And so far, Stoner is looking to see what he can do. He's got a big push coming to give to Richard as they make the run towards the final couple of corners here. And it's going to be all or nothing for your championship competitor.
Lap and a half to go. Still sealed to the bumper just about for the 814. No, you see as you'll come up the hillside here, or how are things looking in the backdrop. Richard has been caught and actually passed by Dyer. That's going to be helpful for Dyer for positions to close up for third in the standings. All that's to say, we come up to the white flag. The top two ready to go. Stoner with the hand in the air for a moment. He backs up his corner. They've come up to turn 1. Stoner points in the air, says, I'm going to go to the outside. Hits the contact for Price. Price on the final time around. Let's see where things stand.
Here we go. Big run coming here for AJ Stoner. Can he find his way around the top kart machine? That's privateer entry of Jet Price. As Stoner gets a big run down the straightaway. Price goes to the bottom to throw the block. Stoner is going to be like, I'm going to take you around the outside. See if he can cross him over. Price goes on the defensive, but Stoner has the momentum to cross him over to the inside and take over the race lead.
AJ Stoner takes the lead and pulls the gap. Stoner looking to try and get himself the championship. Trying to walk off here, help out his drop situation. But Price wants to go lower than that. Through 12 and 13, they fight. It's Price back up in front. He goes defensive at 14. Here comes the dive again for Stoner on the outside. Stoner tries to get the run, has better momentum. Stoner nearly clears. Momentum goes back to Price. Back and forth for 15. To the final line. There's the hand. There's the checkered. Jet Price wins it.
Oh, how about this? Look at the podium coming as Jacob Scheibel out of nowhere gets a third place finish.
Where did that all come from? Richard was amongst that fight. Dyer, obviously things bubbled over there off screen. But Jet Price unofficially up at the top of the board for Briggs Jr. The championship, it's going to come down to see where the drops get calculated when things get inputted.
Incredible fight to the finish here for our drivers. And I got to say, if this is just a precursor of what we're expected to see for our IAME and KA categories, come back here in about an hour or so for the excitement.
Jet Price over Stoner by 0.2 of a second. Scheibel gets the top 3 with the chaos that built back there. Hayden Lawson was running outside the top 10 part of the way. You would see Dragunov, Kritz, Schneider. Richard falls to 9th. That's going to have some big ramifications for the championship. Lackerby down in the 10th position. You also have Gavin Dyer that fell down to 11th, was as high as 4th most of the way. Jonathan Bohr was as high as the top 5. And hold on, we have some physicality of a lot of drivers having discussions because that is where the yard sale happened in the battle for 4th position.
Tough break right there. Tempers flaring. It's your last chance here, so I understand the situation going on here, but I'm pretty sure some penalties might be given out here after the end of this race.
There's a lot of names that possibly are back there. Clevenger, I believe, is a part of the mix there. Some of the names on the pylon, at least. That got very, very wild to end off, and there's going to be some pickup, obviously. Now, before we go towards the lunch break, 2 big notes. Sam Tutwiler, unofficially, as long as things get finalized, has the championship in hand with 743 points to Henry Wheeler's 717. With the drop rounds calculated, Wheeler's second round was dropped, Tutwiler's first as well. In terms of the mini side, that scene. Bo Laser is the only driver there to get a penalty on that side. Hemphill unofficially has that title by upwards of 60 points. Near 50, actually. Almost to 60. Your thoughts on the morning session, Taylor, as we finish things up before lunch?
It's been an exciting morning. Exciting championships have been crowned here. And I got to say, if this is what we expect to see maybe for our Miami category, please come back. Catch all the action here momentarily. You're going to be in for a treat.
You see the Perico countdown to green. That is your warm-up counter in about 39 minutes. We'll take your lunch break. Be sure to get some nutrition. We'll see you in just a bit here on Kart Chaser.